maybe I should announce it. Should I?
I'm Aaron. On this episode of Battlecries Champagne, Legacy, the very best of David Bowie.
Let's get this show on the road. Let's get atomic vibe.
Hello? Hello? How does one start a podcast? Welcome everyone to the first episode of Battlecries Champagne, a non-linear David Bowie podcast. If you're listening to this show, and this is the only episode released, then thank you so much. That means you'll have joined from the ground floor, and I hope you stick around. By the way, if you want to reach the show, please send an email to battlecries@outlook.com. My wife says that's way too long of an email address, so if you prefer, you can follow us on Instagram at Battlecries Champagne Podcast, which comes in at 5 characters less, or subscribe to our YouTube page, Bowie Podcast, and leave us a comment there. Also, don't do it yet, but maybe after a few episodes, leave the podcast a review on your podcasting platform. Just let us figure ourselves out a bit first, okay? In any case, it would be great to hear what you're thinking of the show and anything Bowie related, really, because right now, the only messages I'm getting are from my self-doubt.
So you're starting a David Bowie podcast, huh? What makes you think you've got something to offer?
Well, I'm a lifelong David Bowie fan, and I'd love to connect with other fans, bring them my opinions and information I've found. And, I enjoy listening to other Bowie podcasts, so I thought maybe there's room for more,
Aha! You admit that there are other Bowie podcasts, so you think you're better than them?
No, I would never suggest that. I think they're really great. It's just that, well, my favorite music podcast is probably Take It Away, the complete Paul McCartney archive podcast, because, well, I was already a fan of McCartney's hits when I listened to it, but that podcast really got me into his whole catalog. I thought it did a really great job of covering stuff that would appeal to superfans, but also casual fans like I was. And it was so comprehensive. So that's kind of, I think, what I want to achieve with this one.
How dare you bring up Paul McCartney on a Bowie podcast? Don't you know how dismissive he was of McCartney's music?
Well, sure, in interviews at least, but each fan is allowed to have their own opinion, right?
Look, I thought this was a David Bowie podcast, and the only thing I've heard you talk about is Paul McCartney and yourself. No one gives a crap about you.
You're right. Let's get on with the show. So, because the show is going to cover Bowie's career unchronologically, I'm going to start each episode off with a bit of context so we can, get our bearings a bit. It's a segment I call, Where Are We Now?
Where are we now? Where are we now?
The theme for this season of the show is When I Met You, and we're going to cover albums that helped Bowie broaden his appeal and draw new fans in. So, I'm not sure about you, but for a lot of artists, particularly legacy acts, that I've gotten into, I tend to start with a compilation album. The astute among you may have noticed that this episode is called Legacy, but that's not because we're going to cover the legacy of music Bowie left behind when he passed away in 2016, but rather, we're going to cover the music of Legacy, the compilation album Bowie's label released in the wake of his death. Now, I know that some of you may be screaming, "Cash Cow!" at the mere mention of the album's name, but I think it's worth studying as it is the most recent career-spanning compilation album and the only one covering his commercial debut, The Space Oddity, up until his final album. For me, personally, the first Bowie album I received was 2002's Best of Bowie, the 1-CD Canadian edition. I was introduced to David Bowie in grade 4 through my teacher, who was a super fan himself. Now, if you are upset by the importance I've awarded to Legacy as the first episode of this series, then get ready to really send that blood pressure soaring. The first project that we worked on that year, in grade 4, was recreating the Dancing in the Street video. I know, I became a David Bowie fan because of Dancing in the Street. It's a lot to take in. So anyway, this teacher was my first male teacher, and, that was important to me. subconsciously, of course. How could I know that consciously at the tender age of 9? But anyway, I thought he was really cool. He thought David Bowie was really cool, so naturally, I had to as well. Thankfully, my uncle worked in a music distribution warehouse and had lots of access to music releases, so he was able to score me the best of Bowie, which I listened to religiously for a time, until I got Heathen and the Ziggy Stardust motion picture soundtrack. He was also able to get us tickets to Bowie's A Reality tour, which we'll get to in a later episode. My uncle is also a David Bowie fan, so that definitely helped, and over the following birthdays and Christmases, I could rely on acquiring an additional Bowie album or two. But Best of Bowie was how it started, and that album still has a sentimental value for me because of its place at the beginning of my fandom. One other quick memory that I have with that album is, and this shows you how closely we were following the curriculum in grade 4, I sang through, I think, the whole album in front of the class. How dreadfully boring that must have been for my classmates, but boy did I relish it at the time. I was just starting to come out of my shell that year, and the combination of my teacher and David Bowie really helped me with that. Singing Space Oddity was no problem, as that was my go-to shower song at the time, replacing the Chicks' version of Landslide. I remember stumbling a bit by the time we got to Let's Dance, though, and had to be coached by one of my friends to get through it. But this is what good compilations do. They draw us into that artist's wider oeuvre. And interestingly, that was what David Bowie himself did as one of his first jobs, when he worked at Furlong's, a record and instrument store in London. He would introduce customers to new artists and music in the hopes of getting them hooked. Before we dive into the specific contents of Legacy, though, let's take a curated stroll through the compilation albums released in Bowie's name. Now, for you younger listeners, you might be wondering why the heck I'm blathering on about compilation albums. Isn't that what playlists are for? And actually, one of the things about our playlist culture, which drives me a little crazy, is when I discover an emerging artist and I check out their streaming page, and they have, at least on Apple, an Essentials playlist. I'm like, how can an artist with one EP and one album already have an Essentials playlist? Just check out the album. Like, the reason I've shared this rant with you is because, well, that's basically what Bowie's first compilation album was. Released on the heels of Space Oddity's chart success, The World of David Bowie appeared in March 1970. It was essentially a repackaging of his first album with some added unreleased tracks from the 1967-1968 period. It didn't contain Space Oddity, probably for licensing reasons, but Bowie and his manager Ken Pitt had a say in the album's release, with Bowie even programming the track listing and running order. Then, understandably, record execs waited for Bowie to accumulate a few more albums under his belt before releasing his next compilation album, this time a sort of greatest hits package called Changes One Bowie, which came out in June 1976. Unlike The World of David Bowie, this one actually contained commercially proven tracks, and even the latest singles Fame and Young Americans, and peaked at number 2 in the UK, number 10 in the US, but only got to number 33 in Canada. This is generally a highly regarded compilation album by the fans, as it's got a classy design, and I imagine was a gateway for many North American fans who had been pulled into Bowie's orbit during the Young Americans campaign. In December 1980, the company specializing in compilation albums, Kaitlan, released The Best of Bowie, not to be confused with Best of Bowie, the compilation I mentioned earlier. In the latter, there is a the missing, which just sounds about as bad as the sentence looks. Anyway, this compilation album, which defies what is commonly known about the length of vinyl records, somehow crams 16 songs onto a single LP. When I was digitizing this album to my collection, I kept checking in to see how the transferring was going and stuff, and I couldn't believe that it was still going. Then, I would come back a few minutes later, and it was still going. This is the first compilation to include songs from Bowie's Berlin era, but avoids the most recent hits from Scary Monsters. Anyway, The Best of Bowie made it to number 3 in the UK, but didn't receive a North American release. Instead, like the Berlin era, it seemed focused on consolidating Bowie's continental European fanbase, with several variations being released across those countries. The following year, in November 1981, RCA released Changes to Bowie, which only had half of the album dedicated to rounding up singles released since Changes 1. The rest of the tracks are culled from Changes 1's time range. Bowie wasn't consulted about this album, which came out as his contract with RCA was expiring, but he was apparently quite unhappy with it. No matter though, the album scored a number 24 position in the UK, a number 68 in the US, and a number 23 position in Canada, and even just squeaked into the top 100 selling albums of 1982 here in Canada, landing at number 100. Then, Bowie set the world on fire in 1983 with Let's Dance, which led RCA, which still had the rights to Bowie's back catalog, to release the compilation Fame and Fashion. It doesn't, of course, feature any of the tracks from Let's Dance, which had just taken the world by storm, but relies on Bowie's previous hits to do the selling. Released in April 1984, it got to number 40 in the UK, number 147 in the US, ouch, and it didn't even chart in Canada. But it did get to number 19 in Australia. Obviously, the time was not ripe for a Bowie compilation. Skipping ahead to 1989, Bowie's back catalog was basically out of print and a whole new market was opening up in the form of CD collectors. In March of that year, Bowie signed a deal with a smaller label based in Salem, Massachusetts called Rykodisc to reissue his entire catalog from 1969 through 1980. Various reasons for choosing Rykodisc have been advanced. Some reasons are quite rigorous, like the fact that Bowie apparently went with Ryko because Frank Zappa had been satisfied with how they handled his music, and apparently was quite hard to please generally. If Ryko can please Zappa, surely they could please anybody, was kind of the thought here. Now, this reason I'm not too convinced of personally, because at the time, Bowie didn't seem that concerned about the state of his back catalog. It was only during this reissue campaign that he noticed the master tapes from his 1969 David Bowie album and The Man Who Sold the World were missing. However, it seems like the attention to detail that Ryko took during Bowie's relationship with them inspired him, because by the early 2000s, his archive, mainly located in New Jersey, was reported to be in impeccable condition. A financial reason Bowie went with Ryko was because they were willing to sell his CDs at full price, while other companies were selling back catalogs at a bit of a discount to incentivize fans who already had the albums on vinyl to switch over. The caveat for the full price was that Bowie would grant them permission to add unreleased tracks on each album. Finally, Bowie was in his Tin Machine era at the time, and guitarist Reeves Gabrels was very close with Ryko's resident mastering engineer, Dr. Toby Mountain, which may have also convinced him. It's all about who you know. The compilation album that came out in September 1989 to launch this reissue campaign was one for the ages, and is generally quite highly regarded. Now, it wasn't conceived as a greatest hits, and features quite a few rarities and unreleased versions of songs, so appealed to serious fans. The compilation was called Sound and Vision. Bowie worked very closely with Ryko's artistic director, Jeff Rugby, listening and giving notes on remasterings and bonus tracks. Again, this attention to detail paid off. It got to number 97 in the US and number 76 in Canada. The only detail that was missed was not releasing it in the UK. Bizarre. The following year, Ryko released a greatest hits collection called Changes Bowie, which was the first Bowie compilation to feature Bowie's Let's Dance singles. And boy, was it a runaway hit in his home country. It topped the UK albums chart, representing Bowie's first number one album since 1984, and stayed in the charts for 29 weeks. In the US, it made it to number 39, and in Canada, number 30. In 1992, Ryko wrapped up Bowie's reissue campaign, leaving them nothing left to release but another compilation album. Now, even though I was being a bit dismissive there, if you are into comprehensive Bowie comps, the mid-90s is actually where it's at. 1993's The Singles Collection actually features one of the highest ratios of hits in the entire history of Bowie compilation albums. It came out in November 1993 with different track listings in the UK and in the US, and the US edition achieved a feat not seen since Changes to Bowie a decade earlier, because it had Bowie's most recent hit single on the album in the form of Jump They Say. It is also one of the few Bowie retrospectives to faithfully represent his 1980s output. It was a fitting way to draw the curtains on the Ryko reissues, getting to number 9 in the UK, but it didn't chart in either the US or Canada. Then, Bowie signed a licensing agreement for his back catalog with EMI for $28.5 million, and EMI launched the campaign with October 1997's The Best of David Bowie 1969 to 1974, which again did a thorough job of representing that period, even featuring such an obscure hit as Bowie's cover of Let's Spend the Night Together, which was a top 20 hit in the Netherlands in 1973. This compilation made it to number 13 in the UK, but again failed to chart in the US and in Canada. It seems like us North Americans really like a superficial Bowie compilation. I guess it's an old world, new world wine kind of thing. The next year, the sequel, The Best of David Bowie 1974 to 1979, was released. But it only made it to number 39 in the UK and, of course, didn't make it into the US or Canadian charts. This lack of success scared EMI off from releasing the final part of the trilogy, The Best of David Bowie 1980 to 1987, until 2005, when the three compilations were lumped together under the title The Platinum Collection. The reissue campaign went ahead though, and all of Bowie's albums from 1969 to 1989 were remastered in 1999, although they didn't perform as well as the Ryko reissues. These editions didn't feature any bonus tracks, and the story that Bowie was working on an anthology of outtakes, rarities, and alternate takes around this time never saw anything come from it. It was a fast, but ultimately disappointing campaign, though these remasters were my first Bowie albums, so they do have a special place in my heart. Around this time, EMI shifted gears and released some more exotic compilations, such as Bowie at the Beeb, which summarized some radio sessions Bowie had recorded from 1969 to 1972. The original edition also features a live concert recorded for the BBC in 2000. Considering that this had been a long-awaited release by Bowie fans, and it rode the wave of enthusiasm for Bowie following his Glastonbury homecoming that summer, the album was well received by critics and the public alike. It got to number 7 in the UK, but barely got into the US album charts. The next year, in July 2001, EMI awarded a commercial release to a Bowie curated compilation called All Saints, that he had distributed to 150 close friends in 1993 as a last-minute Christmas gift. I guess it's kind of like when you regift something for a game of White Elephant. What do I have lying around the house? Oh yeah, I could quickly burn a CD of my instrumentals. The 2001 edition had some tweaks made to its track listing, as well as artwork chosen by Bowie himself. Originally, he had wanted his online fanbase to choose the cover, but ultimately followed his gut. While this may seem like an unnecessary release today, remember that this was still the pre-iPod era, where making a mixtape or a CD, took some effort. Nevertheless, the public didn't flock to it. So, it was time for EMI to try and get Bowie comps doing well again in North America. Their strategy was to release region-specific versions of a Best Of album. We're now back at Best of Bowie. Track listings were supposedly based off of which songs were more popular in a given region, with a total of 20 different editions being sold worldwide. Notably, the 2-disc Canada-US version featured a Tin Machine track, one of the few times that Bowie compilations have awarded space to his time with the band. More on that in a bit. While the album sold well in the UK in 2002, where it peaked at number 11 and stayed in the charts for 45 weeks, following Bowie's death in 2016, it peaked at number 3 in the UK and number 4 in both Canada and the US. The next year, Sound and Vision was reissued and augmented with tracks from 1982 to 1997, including both Tin Machine albums. In 2008, another Bowie curated compilation album was released, called I Select. Very 2008, very cringe, I know. It reminds me of this baby onesie I saw at the mall at that time, which was labeled I Pooed. Now, when your album title is basically as clever as what would now be Temu clothing, we have a problem. This compilation, as one can imagine if you know Bowie's perception of his own work, leaned heavily on deep cuts and stayed away from the hits for the most part. Interestingly, all of Bowie's self-curated compilation albums include the outtake Some Are. That is, until the next Bowie compilation album, called Nothing Has Changed, released in November 2014, that again was arranged by David Bowie. Now, take this with a grain of salt, because its song selection is very predictable. Bowie's back catalog had just been licensed to Warner Music Group, and so this compilation followed in the vein of Sound and Vision and The Best of David Bowie 1969 to 1974, announcing what the following reissue campaign would look like. By the way, as of recording in summer 2025, this reissue campaign is still ongoing. To put this into perspective, Ryko released 11 years of material in 2 years, EMI released 20 years of material in 1, and Parlophone has released 32 years of material in 10. Many configurations of Nothing Has Changed were released, with the most interesting being the 3 CD. which had the songs presented in reverse chronological order, featured songs from the toy sessions, gave the 1990s and 2000s a decent amount of space, and, for the first time ever, had songs that preceded Space Oddity with the songs that followed it. As the album marked 50 years of Bowie as a recording artist, it covered his earliest single, Liza Jane, all the way to his most recent, Sue, or In a Season of Crime, released especially for this compilation. It was hoped this openness to Bowie's entire catalog might signal the vault was opening up, but this didn't really start to happen until 2019. It's hard to know exactly how much material is in the vault, but some authors have speculated between hundreds of songs and enough tapes to fill 2 airplane hangars. Despite the relatively conservative approach to new material, nothing has changed, got to number 9 in the UK, number 57 in the US, but didn't chart in Canada in 2014. And finally, without further ado, we get to the namesake of this episode, Legacy. This album was released digitally and on CD in November 2016, just 11 months after Bowie's passing in January. A vinyl release would follow in January 2017. As referenced earlier, when talking about Best of Bowie, his passing brought a whole lot of compilations back into the charts. In Canada alone, the Best of David Bowie 1969 to 1974, Nothing Has Changed, and of course, Best of Bowie, all charted in the weeks following Bowie's death. So, Warner saw an interest in Bowie compilations and seized it. Here are a few excerpts from the press release.
Bowie Legacy will be released in November. The album collects together a selection of Bowie's most popular tracks and singles from 1969's Space Oddity through to the final singles Lazarus and I Can Give Everything Away, issued earlier this year. Bowie left a legacy of inspiration in every discipline, from art and fashion to acting and beyond. But it is for his groundbreaking music that he will be best remembered. Bowie Legacy is an introduction to a world of incredible music just waiting to be enjoyed by a whole new generation.
What I find interesting about the press release is its last line, which openly defies a statement Bowie had made back in the early 2000s, where he said,
Youth must forge ahead. It's especially important that children do not listen to the same music their parents did.
Now, I'm not sure how convinced he was of this. I'm sure he was always welcoming to new fans to his music, but regardless, here was his estate hoping to continue his legacy with a compilation album. And it worked. The album peaked at number 64 in Canada and number 78 in the US. Now, remember that a Bowie compilation charting wasn't guaranteed in North America. But it was in the UK that the album made it to number 5 and stayed in the charts for 437 weeks, becoming the 5th best-selling vinyl album in the UK between 2015 and 2025. That's pretty stellar, considering the track listing is basically the 2 CD edition of Nothing Has Changed, with a few tweaks near the end to make room for songs from Black Star. And this is why I've chosen to study this album to date, because it's the most recent David Bowie compilation, and the only one to cover his first hit single through to his final recordings. Before we get to analyzing its contents, however, I want to launch a segment called Bowie was known to manipulate the truth in interviews to suit his purposes of teasing journalists or helping them sell a story. So this segment aims to tackle a relevant lie or myth surrounding the album being studied in an episode. The myth that hangs over Bowie compilations is the one that Bowie himself perpetuated when he said in 2003,
I'm not a single singer, but an album artist. Whoever my core fans are, I'm sure they'd agree.
While there's no denying most of Bowie's songs are enriched by listening to them in the context of their parent albums, it's not untrue that he had a successful career on the singles market. I've covered many compilation albums released in his name since 1970, and that list wasn't exhaustive, by the way, and not one of them has sought to look at his career through this lens. His core fans and his marketing teams seem to have decided upon a main canon of representative tracks for compilations, but the masses should have a say in the matter too, no? After all, sending a single into the charts is a fundamentally democratic exercise. Plus, a compilation album is generally marketed towards these masses. So, we'll be looking at hit singles that were ignored for inclusion on Legacy in just a few minutes, but first, I'd like to look at my personal top 5 omissions from Bowie compilation albums over the years that misrepresent his commercial success or his story, that tell lies, if you will.
5,
Fifth position goes to Excluding Tin Machine. Starting on the Canada-US double disc version of Best of Bowie, the door was open to having some Tin Machine representation. After all, Bowie was never afraid, particularly in the 1990s, to talk about the importance of Tin Machine, the band he formed with Reeves Gabrels, Hunt, and Tony Sales from 1989 to 1992. He often credited them with helping him regain his confidence as a songwriter following his mid-80s albums. On the updated Sound and Vision, released in 2003, Tin Machine was even invited past the door and into the house, with 6 tracks culled from their 2 studio albums being represented. Unfortunately, though Sound and Vision represents all of Bowie's live albums, it did not contain material from Tin Machine's live album. It was interesting that Bowie didn't include any Tin Machine material on iSelect, considering just how important he viewed the group and he had full control of that track listing. Maybe he had changed his mind by 2008. Regardless, it's criminal that no Tin Machine songs appear on Nothing Has Changed, leaving a gaping hole between 1987 and 1993. Surely that would have been the place for some Tin Machine. And we'll get back to Nothing Has Changed in a minute, but I'll quickly add that some people separate Tin Machine from Bowie's career, seeing it as a completely distinct entity, something that Tin Machine did lobby for, rejecting the label David Bowie's band. Fair enough. But the precedent existed with Best of Bowie and Sound and Vision, and Nothing Has Changed has early 60s material from when Bowie was working as a band member, not a solo artist. So no excuses there.
4.
Let's go all the way back to Changes One Bowie for the omission in position 4. Starman, missing from this album. Instead, the rise and fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars is represented by Ziggy Stardust and Suffragette City. Why? Nothing against those 2 songs, but Starman was actually released as a single and was a hit in the UK, the US, Canada, and Australia. It was the song that assured Bowie's ascendancy to pop royalty and helped him transcend one-hit wonder status. Thankfully, it would be included on Changes to Bowie, but that seems too little, too late.
3.
Position 3 goes to the consistent omission of Peace on Earth, Little Drummer Boy. Is it because it wasn't written by Bowie? Can't be, because Sorrow pops up fairly often. Is it because Bowie hated Little Drummer Boy, which is half of the medley? Maybe. Is it a licensing issue? Perhaps. But nevertheless, it was a hit single in the UK, getting to number 3 upon release in 1982, and to number 2 in Canada in 2001 for some reason that I can't quite figure out. But hey, that's nothing to scoff at. And it's heard on radio stations around Christmas time, so it's a moneymaker. It should be represented on these compilations. The only 2 times this song has appeared on Bowie releases are the first 40,000 copies of the singles collection in 1993 and on A New Career in a New Town box set in 2017. A holiday song is nothing to be ashamed of.
2.
Speaking of shame, that's probably what keeps omission number 2 off of compilation albums, and that is The Laughing Gnome. This novelty single was released by Bowie in 1967 with terrible puns and goofy chipmunk voices, but it's got a charm to it. It flopped upon release, but it charted in the UK when his old label released it at the height of Ziggy Mania in 1973, making it to number 6 during its 12 weeks in the charts. You could argue that maybe it's not a genuine hit single, and maybe people were buying it thinking it was a Ziggy type track, so maybe it shouldn't be on every compilation album. That's fair. But here's where I put Nothing Has Changed on blast again. This collection, as I mentioned earlier, goes where no career-spanning Bowie compilation had gone before, the early to mid-60s. This would have been the perfect time for Bowie to genuinely reconcile with the track. It is rather infamous, after all. A missed opportunity, for sure. Anyway, I'll end my feud with Nothing Has Changed and move on to target number 1.
1.
You would think that Best of Bowie's territory-specific track listings would help ensure that each territory's particular interest in Bowie songs would be fairly represented. But no. Maybe the research wasn't done properly, I don't know. But there are several bizarre choices which I will quickly run through here. First, the UK edition should have had The Laughing Gnome on it, as well as other top 20 hits like Day In, Day Out, Peace on Earth, Knock on Wood, John I'm Only Dancing Again, Thursday's Child, and Everyone Says Hi. The US-Canada edition also sidelines 2 Never Let Me Down singles, Day In, Day Out, and the title track, despite the fact that they are among Bowie's highest charting singles in those territories. Plus, Starman is left off, even though that was Bowie's first single to chart in both those countries. Finally, Tonight did better in Canada than it did in the UK, US, Australia, and the Netherlands, so it should have been shown some love here. As for Australia, the biggest losers are Absolute Beginners, which was a top 5 hit, and Cat People, which made top 15. Finally, the Netherlands edition should have included Underground, a top 10 hit, Day In, Day Out, a top 15 hit, and Let's Spend the Night Together. Whew. Okay, now that I've gotten that out of my system, we can finally go through Legacy track by track. Okay, so I'm going to be running through Legacy with my sister Kaitlan. Earlier in the episode, I gave my story of getting into Bowie. Do you want to talk about yours a bit?
Yeah, sure. I don't know. I guess probably the influence was mostly you when you started listening to him when we were younger. And then we both had the same fourth grade teacher, and that fourth grade teacher was pretty obsessed with Bowie at the time. So, during class assignments, we would have to make these elaborate presentations that consisted, choreography and music. And he gave us an example of a concert in one of his classes, and we watched Bowie live. And then I think throughout the years, he seemed to influence a lot of the artists that I liked as well. So like Arcade Fire was a big influence for me growing up, and he collaborated with them on Reflector. And then also Lorde, he had said some pretty powerful things when she started off in the music scene. And so kind of stuck with me throughout my life. I'm not as big of a super fan as my brother, but I do enjoy his music. So
do you have any favorite periods?
Well, in preparing for today's conversation, it was interesting to read through his little bio that he has on Spotify. I know I'm a Spotify listener, but
it's okay. It's okay. We've already plugged Apple Music once.
Yeah,
so it's all good.
So that he has like a bio that is listed, and it was interesting to read through that as I was listening to the Legacy album and some of the songs that I'm not as familiar with, just to kind of see like. In my mind, he was always this like very successful musician, very successful artist, but he had periods that weren't as successful as he initially envisioned. And I would say from my listening, like I really like his early stuff, like the really weird folky album, like in the 60s, 70s, even the 80s. I think I've kind of shied away a bit into the 90s and 2000s. Like I wasn't as big of a fan of listening to the albums from start to finish. Like I would just kind of pick and choose or cherry pick some of the songs from those albums. But yeah, definitely Outside, I think for me as a weirdo who likes the haunting stuff, that would probably be my favorite era from him. So
cool. Now, because obviously we're talking about Legacy, which is a compilation album, I feel like we just need to have a little quick conversation about compilation albums in the year 2025. Do you think that with streaming services today, is there a reason for a compilation album to exist?
That's a good question. I don't know, because I'm not sure about Apple Music, but on Spotify they have like their own like sample playlists from the artists.
Apple, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those to me would kind of act as the compilation where they kind of just again cherry pick some of the songs that they think fans would like. So I don't know necessarily if compilation albums make sense in the digital age of music. I think they made sense, back when CDs, probably, I guess towards the end of CDs, the CD era, that would probably be the last.
And I was going to ask if there are any compilation albums other than Bowie, obviously, that you think are important or that have meaning to you.
Well, yeah, I guess, I'm full of contradictions, I guess. Because growing up, my dad would always buy me CDs for my boombox. Or I'm not even sure if we can call them boomboxes. I'm not sure I guess it's like a amplified CD player of sorts. I don't know. But anyways, a lot of the CDs that he would buy were like the greatest hits CDs. So for me, it was like Pat Benatar and Heart. Like those two albums I have and I still listen to this day. So they don't necessarily tell the same stories if it was like on the actual track list of the album from which the song has come from. But those hold a special place in my heart.
I was going to say maybe Shania Twain as well.
Yeah, Shania. But also, I honestly don't think her compilation albums are as good as her actual CDs.
Sam, I'm a big fan of that. I don't know the name of it, but she's like sitting in I think like a black tank top, maybe.
Oh yes, yeah. She's like a
profile.
Blue skirt.
Yeah, blue skirt.
Something.
Yeah, blue skirt.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's a good album. But yeah, like for her, I like the actual like. I'm a big CD collector as well, so I like her individual CDs.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, are you ready to get into it?
Yes,
Yeah?
let's
Okay.
do it.
Let's face the music and dance.
What we're going to do is we're going to go through each song on Legacy, and because Legacy is ordered in chronological order, I'm also going to insert hit singles that were left off the album. And what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of talk about, as we're going through the songs, whether if we were designing our own Legacy album, whether we would keep those songs, whether we would take them out, and whether those songs that didn't make it, whether we would put them on.
Yeah.
And just so everyone knows, the definition I've used for hit singles for this is it's a song that made it into the top 40 in one of the following key Bowie markets: the UK, the United States, Canada, Australia, and the Netherlands. And then it also had to chart in one of those countries another one of those countries as well. And if you're a listener who's not in one of those countries, I do apologize, but I did have to limit it somewhat. And I wanted to include Japan, but unfortunately, it seems all the chart information is in Japanese, and I don't know how to read that. So we have what we have.
This is Major Tom to ground control. I'm stepping through the door, and I'm floating in a most peculiar way.
We're going to start off with Space Oddity, which made it to number 5 in the UK charts when it was first released in November 1969. It later made it to number 1 in 1975 when it was re-released as a single. And then after Bowie's passing, it made it to number 24 in the UK charts, I guess as people were streaming his more popular songs. It is Bowie's most successful single in the UK. In the US, it made it to number 15 in April 1973. And then number 42 in 2016, after Bowie's passing. In Canada, it made it to number 16 in May 1973. In Australia, number 9, also in 1973. And in the Netherlands, number 4. So, is this a keeper, or are you going to toss it off?
I would say it's a keeper. I think there's a lot of layering in this song that I really enjoy. I usually listen to Space Oddity if I'm feeling very out of control in my own life and just wanting to fly off planet Earth. And so for me, it's weirdly a very grounding song, but also a song that I can just put in my headphones and just tune out the world and be counted off into space by David Bowie himself. So
yeah, nice. Yeah, I agree. I would also keep it on. I think it introduces two kind of big leitmotifs in Bowie's career right off the hop. First of all, obviously deals with loneliness, which is a theme that he continually comes back to. And then second of all, it's not necessarily said in the lyrics, but just the idea of your environment taking over, I think, is something that he embraced as an artist, where he would move to different cities, and that would inspire the sounds and the songs of the albums, right? So I think that just sets the rest of the compilation album up well, because that's what we're going to be seeing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a great starting off point for the Legacy album. It was used in many movies as well, so I think that's also kind of an interesting starting off point for Bowie fans, or even people who are just getting into Bowie, as the number 1 song on the album. So
exactly, and as I mentioned in that chart kind of history, obviously it is one of his biggest songs, so I mean it has to be here, right? We can't take it off.
Yeah.
So.
I laughed and shook his hand and made my way back home. I searched for form and land. For years and years I roamed.
Next is The Man Who Sold the World, which Bowie never released as a single, and he recorded it with Lulu in 1974, and there it made it to number 3, that Lulu version. It was released as a B-side to the single Life on Mars in 1973, but it's really, I think, the Nirvana version, the cover that they released on MTV Unplugged, which was a number 1 album for Nirvana in the US. That's where I think the kind of importance of The Man Who Sold the World comes in, because that's when Bowie kind of started singing it regularly in concerts after that, and that's when it started appearing on Bowie compilation albums, was after that. So I think it's more it seems to be more popular as a cover song than as actually the Bowie original.
Yeah, I would say The Man Who Sold the World is not my favorite song from that album. I think it's an interesting song, but I, like, personally, if I were to pull singles from that album, I would prefer She Shook Me Cold or Black Country Rock. Those are my two favorites from the album, which are, like, not, you know, well known.
Yeah,
or, like,
no, exactly, yeah.
So, yeah. To me, it's just like, okay, like, one is the end of the song, whereas, like, She Shook Me Cold or Black Country Rock is just, like, has a lot of, again, layers, and it kind of has, more of a unique sound that I associate with Bowie than The Man Who Sold the World.
Okay, interesting. I think as
Which
well.
songs would you put on?
From that album?
Yeah.
I think I would just skip
it. Goodbye.
Yeah, that album can, that's something it can be one of your deep cuts you come back to when you're really digging in. I don't know if you need something from that album to get you hooked into Bowie. Personally.
I see.
And I definitely would not choose She Shook Me Cold. It's my least favorite song on that album.
Oh, come on. Yeah. Well, I feel like it has that kind of that punky edge where he, like, tries to reinvent with, like, the 90s. And, like, when I was reading on that bio, I can't remember which album it was, but he, like, tried to tour it with, like, 9 Inch Nails to, like...
Yeah, it was the Outside album.
Oh, okay, yeah. And so, like, I feel like, that to me is, like, maybe that's, like, my preemptive, like, why I like that album or those two songs so much is because they have that, like, rawness, that kind of, like, irritable sound that, like, we see a lot throughout Outside.
Gonna have to be a different man. Time may change me, but I can't trace time.
Okay, next up is Changes, which interestingly did not chart in the UK. In the US, it made it to number 41 in January 1975 and number 66 in May 1972, and apparently was quite successful in the markets of Boston and Memphis. So
wow,
there you go. In Canada, it made it to number 32 in February 1975. In Australia, it made it to number 80, but that was only in 2016, and it also did not chart in the Netherlands. Although I feel like, this is a pretty anthemic song and, like, a really song that is often used to represent Bowie's entire career.
Yeah.
So personally, I would keep it. I also think it's a really fun song.
Yeah.
It's got a great tune. It's got great instrumentation. It's kind of lively. What do you think?
Well, see, unfortunately,
Ooh.
I know. Every time I hear this song, I just think of that stupid Shrek movie.
Oh, yeah.
And so I can't, like, unsee, like, Shrek riding on, like, the white horse whenever I think of the song.
That is the danger when you license your music to movies.
Yeah. So to me, not to jump ahead, but Oh You Pretty Things, I would keep that song, but I would not. I don't have the same inclination for Changes. It is a fun song. It is, like, a good vibe, but to me, I just have a very strong association with an animated film from the early 2000s. So
Okay. See, another reason I would keep it is because I think we'll have to, when we go through the track listing in its entirety, maybe I'll reconsider this, but it's for sure one of the few instances in this track listing where we have Bowie actually playing the saxophone, which was his first instrument or whatever. So I think it's important for that reason as well.
Yeah.
And to skip ahead a little bit, I would actually cut Oh You Pretty Things.
Ooh, there we go.
So I guess let's go there, I guess.
Oh, you pretty things. Don't you know you're driving your mama's insane? Let me make it plain. Gotta make way for the Homo superior.
So Oh You Pretty Things, kind of like The Man Who Sold the World, was never a single released by David Bowie. It was released by an artist named Peter Noon. Bowie wrote the song initially for him, and then he took it back a couple months later for the Hunky Dory album. In the UK, that Peter Noon version made it to number 12, and it stayed in the charts for 10 weeks, so that was kind of positive for Bowie, who hadn't had any chart success since Space Oddity. It did not chart in the US nor in Canada, but it made to number 100 in the Australian chart, so just squeaked in there. I think it's a great song. It's a fun song, but I don't know if it needs to be here. I don't know if it's, like, the most representative of what he could do.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, so interesting that you were talking about the sax, because for me, if I think of David Bowie, I think of either a weird piano riff or the saxophone. Those are, like, my two indicators that, like, is, especially, like, some eras he was not playing or using those instruments as much. But for me, if I'm thinking of like, or I have this like clear picture of Bowie in my mind, those are the two instruments that I hear. So for me, that's why I like Oh You Pretty Things, is because of the little piano that he does throughout, or whoever does. I'm not sure if he's the one playing it.
He actually, I think this is the one track on Hunky Dory where he does play the piano.
Oh, okay.
Every other one, it's Rick Wakeman who's playing the piano, but this one he felt it was an easy enough composition to play himself. So
yeah. And I think like also I really liked the fluctuations in sound, how it was like slow at some parts and then it would pick up again and then it would slow down again. Like that to me, it just had that like, is that like the instrumental part of the song, I guess, that just like drew me in, opposed to changes, which is kind of again like pretty constant throughout. Like I just love when there's bits and pieces that kind of feel like, what's happening here, like should this be like this, like the controversy or the tension between some of the musical choices.
Yeah, and this must have felt like a big release for you, because after you said The Man Who Sold the World was, you know, on the same level, then Changes is on the same level, and now finally you're getting a little bit of peaks and valleys.
Exactly. So. Yeah.
Next up is Life on Mars.
Is there life on Mars?
I'm hoping you're not going to have a controversial take on this one.
No, I like Life on Mars because again, it has that kind of like ebbs and flows in the sound, and just like when he belts like, "Is there life on Mars?" I don't want to sing it because, you know, I'm no singer, but like to me that was just like, wow, like I really like, I felt it, you know, I really felt a connection to the song. So
yeah, and it was a song that connected, at least in the UK, where it made it to number 3 during the height of Ziggy Mania in summer of 73. It didn't chart in the US or Canada, unfortunately. It made it to number 67 in Australia and number 95 in the Netherlands, but it has since obviously become an iconic David Bowie song. Did you listen to the version that was on Legacy, specifically like the 2016 mix?
Yeah.
How do you think that compares to the original?
I think in listening to it on the Legacy album, or the version was like, okay, nothing to write home about.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I agree. I think if I remember correctly, I think they just keep the strings, the piano, and then Bowie's vocal. I think.
Yeah, it seemed like very like, what's the word?
Sparse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there was something missing to it. It didn't have the same like.
Same swell.
Yeah, like the drumming and whatever that was in it that like really like. At the end, you know how it just like builds and builds and builds and then it kind of like erupts. Like I really love that from the album, but I don't remember hearing that on Legacy's version.
The other thing I'll say about Life on Mars is I think that every version of this song is terrific. Like I feel it was, even, you know, we can say what we want about the 2016 mix, but I feel like it still has power, you know?
Yeah.
And like every time he did it live, it has power.
Yes.
There's just, I don't think you can screw up Life on Mars. I think it's just a fantastic song. So for that reason alone, it deserves to be here, because it's just,
absolutely,
you know, it's I would say it's a 5 on 5 for sure. Okay, so Starman is next.
There's a starman waiting in the sky. He's told us not to blow it, 'cause he knows it's all worthwhile. He told me, let the children lose it, let the children use it, let all the children boogie.
So now we're entering into Ziggy Stardust.
Now we're entering the Ziggy Stardust era. Number 10 in the UK, number 65 in the US, 64 in Canada, number 37 in Australia. For some reason did not land in the Netherlands, but everywhere else, this was kind of the big one after Space Oddity, and this is, you know, setting him up for success for the rest of his career, really.
Yeah. So this album, this is like no skips to me. I could listen to this album in like full, like front to back. Like it is just so perfectly made.
Yeah, I can't disagree. Nothing to say about Starman specifically.
Sorry. Yeah, I guess like for this album, I wouldn't say it's like my top choice. It, you know, it has like the build, which I like with his stuff, but for me, it doesn't compare to like Soul Love or Moonage Daydream. You know, those are for me my like, I would rather have those ones on the album, or like Rock and Roll Suicide. Again, not one of his most popular songs, but I think I would take those over Starman, just because there is that musical interest, which I find is maybe lacking in Starman, but...
Okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely I agree. Musically, it's one of the simpler songs on the album.
It's kind of boring.
Oh, okay. Well, I wouldn't go that far. See, to me, the reason I like it being on an album like Legacy is it's not one of Bowie's more complex pieces, so I think it's easier for like a general
Right. It's
music
like more
listener.
approachable.
Right, and like it's really easy to sing along with.
Yeah.
Like, so then you have like it's not just all like complicated music for like real musos, you know,
Right.
people who are like really into music. This is like really accessible, right? And I think that's kind of nice to have, especially early on in the album. I think also it combines some themes of Space Oddity, obviously the space stuff,
Yep.
but it also has that kind of anthem generational quality that Changes also had. So it's like tying some things together, and we're seeing this nice continuation of ideas throughout his career, and then obviously throughout this compilation album so far. So.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, the coherency is definitely there for this song.
Next up is the title track from the album, which is Ziggy Stardust.
Ziggy played for time, jiving us that we were voodoo. The kids were just crass. He was the Nas with God-given ass.
This song was never released as a single, so there's no chart history for it. The only thing I can say is that Bauhaus released a cover in October 1982 that made it to number 15 in the charts. So I guess it was, again, successful as a cover. What do you have to say about the Ziggy Stardust song itself?
I find personally, and this is kind of an interesting theme for much of Bowie's work, is I don't normally gravitate to the songs that have the same name as the album. So to me, it didn't really stick out to me. There was nothing that I was like, I need to listen to this song again. Like, what is this song?
Yeah.
It was just kind of there. So yeah. But I would say consistently through most of his albums, I'm not the biggest fan of.
Okay, well, there'll be some interesting conversations coming up then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only reason this song is here is because how well known the Ziggy Stardust character is.
Yeah, it
as
kinda
opposed to
introduced-
the song itself. Like the song itself is not that special.
Yeah.
It's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
But it's also not extraordinary and whatever. So I feel like if we left it off, I wouldn't miss it.
Yeah, like I can't even think of what it sounds like right now.
Okay.
In my head. Like that's how like
Wow.
it just didn't leave much of an impression on me, I guess. But yeah.
Okay. But the next track, Moonage Daydream.
Make me, baby. Make me know you really care. Make me jump into the air.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
It's just so romantic. It really like, and I think for this album, like the sax appears quite heavily throughout, and so for me, yeah, I just I would like to daydream on the moon. So I like this. I like the song a lot.
Yeah, this song was not released as a single either. For that reason, I feel like I would
Have to cut.
take it off, but I do like this is one of the ones I'm torn on because it is such a fantastic song. Bowie's performance on it and just the whole instrumentation, like the orchestra,
Yeah.
the guitars, the effects that are going on, it's just all incredible. So it does pack a punch. So if there's space for it, I would keep it.
Yeah. Well, I feel like because, again, like to me, this album, like, front to back, you can just listen to every song and find something that you like about them. Maybe not so much for Ziggy Stardust for me, but perhaps then leaving it off is not the end of the world, because I feel like if, someone was listening to Starman or Ziggy Stardust or whatever and then like that sound, they could go to the album and realize like, oh my gosh, like this is like a really well stacked album.
Yeah, you need to have something.
Yeah.
If you decide to go beyond this, you don't
Yeah.
want to just be like, oh well, I'm just
Yeah.
stuck with Ziggy Stardust.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm so surprised that Suffragette City didn't make it on the Legacy album. To me, that it's just like, it's such a, you want to just like drive your car really fast, like windows down, like scream, sing that song. So opposed to like Ziggy Stardust, that one to me, like there's more like, of a impact, or like more of a like a punch to the gut. Like you just want to get up and dance to that song. Like everyone knows the character of Ziggy Stardust, but I feel like everyone knows Suffragette City more than they know the song Ziggy Stardust.
That's true. It is definitely a really great song. Again, it was never released as a single, so I feel like
maybe that's why.
But like it is like on Best of Bowie, it's there. On Changes 1 Bowie, it's there. I feel like you can't have 3 songs from, or like you can't have 4 songs from Ziggy Stardust on. Otherwise, you're really saying this is the one, and then
Sure.
the rest is all just like, you know, there's a song here and there that you can like. So I feel like keeping it to 3 is a good idea.
But then just taking one of those 3 and replacing it with Suffragette City.
That's true.
Get back on it. Gene Genie lives on his back. And Gene Genie loves chimney stacks. He's outrageous, he screams and he bawls. But Gene Genie, let yourself go.
Next up is the Gene Genie, which peaked at number 2 in the UK, and it was interestingly held off of the top spot by a song called Blockbuster, which was by The Sweet, which used the same riff as an inspiration. Like
Wow.
the Gene Genie is based on the riffs, right, is based on a song called I'm a Man by the Yardbirds, and so was Blockbuster. So it's kind of interesting that I guess in the UK that riff was really something at the time. In the US, it made it to number 71, in Canada number 75, Australia number 42, and in the Netherlands it made it to number 5. This is probably my least favorite Bowie hit.
I would agree.
I used to say that it's because I hate the harmonica as an instrument, but since then I have found songs that do have a harmonica that I think that the harmonica is a super important instrument to that song. So I think maybe it's just the song.
Yeah. I just felt like, again, it's just kind of that constant same, like,
Yeah,
like, okay, like, give us something more, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I find for that, it's just kind of the repetitiveness of it. Nothing to write home about.
Yeah.
It's a good song, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's like one of his best songs.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think, though, I would, just because it was pretty successful in the UK,
Right.
I think I'm going to have to keep it on, but I would rather not.
Yeah.
If I had the choice.
Right.
All the young dudes carry the news. Boogaloo dudes carry the news.
Next up is All the Young Dudes, which again was not a single released by Bowie, but a single released by Mott the Hoople. That was a number 3 hit in the UK, which was Bowie's highest charting single up until that point. When it was released, would mark the first time that 2 Bowie penned songs were in the UK top 10 at the same time, the other one being Starman. It made it to number 37 in the US and number 31 in Canada. Obviously, the version we have on Legacy is the David Bowie version. This is going to be a little controversial for Bowie fans out there, because I know that All the Young Dudes is generally, a lot of people feel that the Mott the Hoople version is the better one. Personally, I was introduced to the David Bowie one first and listened to that one, you know, for like the next 10 years before I heard the Mott the Hoople version, so I am kind of partial to the Bowie version over the Hoople version, but I think I would still leave this off of Legacy. What do you think?
Yeah, I can't say that I've listened to the Mott the Hoople.
Mott the Hoople.
Mott the Hoople. Sorry to Mott the Hoople fans. I can't say I've listened to that version, so I can't comment there. But yeah, I would say, again, it's a good song. Like, it's fun, but it's not, I wouldn't put it on the Legacy album.
His name was always Buddy, and he'd shrug and ask to stay. And she sighed like Twinkle Wonder Kid, and turned her face away.
Next up is Drivin' Saturday, which made it to number 3 in the UK, but did not chart in any other territory, which I was actually quite surprised by, because, you know, you think that obviously a little bit of momentum had been building with Starman and Gene Genie, Changes, you know, where Bowie's music was getting to be known outside of the UK. So I'm surprised that Drivin' Saturday was a real miss here.
Right.
I would keep it personally because I love this song. I think it's really, it's got a beautiful melody. I think the lyrics are very interesting. It's a very good story. He's in beautiful voice. But if I remember correctly, this was a song that you really just came to for this episode, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So what are your initial takes on it?
I really like the song. I have in my notes, love the sax. Again, to me, that's like a Bowie staple. So I love that. That was part of the song. The lyrics, the love part is so relatable. So I was like, this is like, again, great. I also wrote the space sounds throughout are cool. What I meant by that, don't remember, but
there's some synth in there, I think.
yeah, very, I think again that, yeah, as you said, like ties back into the Space Oddity era. Like we're kind of seeing that coherency throughout. And then also the vocal range. I put a little heart beside it and said, I'm captivated and want to sing along.
There you
So
go.
I would agree with all the statements that you said, that, yeah, this is a song that I discovered or was told to listen to for this podcast episode, and a song that like I will continue listening to past this.
With your long blonde hair and your eyes of blue, the only thing I ever got from you was sorrow.
Next up is the song Sorrow, which also was a number 3 UK hit. It seems number 3 was a popular position for Bowie singles at the time. It didn't chart in the US, but it did make it to number 77 in Canada, number 1 in Australia, his first Australian number 1, and number 29 in the Netherlands. This is the first cover version on Legacy, and this is often, named as one of Bowie's best cover versions. Personally, I think Wild as the Wind is better, but that's for another time.
Who is he covering?
He's covering, who is this song by? It's some British group. The Merseys, maybe? The Merseys?
Okay.
I guess we already insulted Mott the Hoople fans, so we can insult anybody now. But this might insult the Merseys fans, but I think they're kind of a one-hit wonder. Like, this was their big song.
Okay. Yeah. This was a song that I had not listened to prior to this podcast episode, so my notes are that I don't think I would ever crave to listen to the song. Like, it wasn't something that to me, like, it has like, the piano and the sax, so it does have the Bowie elements, but overall I found it quite boring in the beginning, and then I was very happy that it picked up in the middle. Mm-hmm. But then also I felt like as I was listening to this song a few times, like I would just start getting into it and then it would end.
Okay.
Like, it wasn't a song that captivated me from the beginning. It was just like, okay, do I like this song? Do I like this song?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I kind of like this song. Oh, it's over. So I kind of wish there was like whatever he was doing at the end would also have taken place at the beginning to keep me on board throughout.
Yeah, I agree. It's not the most interesting song in the world, but I would keep it on Legacy for the only reason that I think it does show that Bowie can do a cover well. I think you need some representation to say, he's not just a singer-songwriter, he can also be an interpreter of songs.
Rebel, rebel, put on your dress. Rebel, rebel, your face is a mess. Rebel, rebel, how could they know? Hot tramp, I love you so.
Following up is the song Rebel Rebel, which was a number 5 hit in the UK. It didn't chart in the US. It made it to number 31 in Canada, number 28 in Australia, and number 8 in the Netherlands.
Yeah, to me this is
it's a pretty steady one, right? There's not a whole lot of dynamics going on here.
Yeah, it kind of gives me Changes, Genie vibes, where it's just like, maybe I just don't like all his most popular songs or something, but like, I don't know what it is. I think, having that like steady, it was like, again, it's a catchy tune, it's a good song, but it's not something that I would want to like put on unless it was stuck in my head and I had to like get it unstuck or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think, I would keep it because I think it's one of the songs that has like the most direct interplay between gender, which Bowie's obviously known for. So I think that's important to have on this kind of introductory album to his music. It is catchy for sure. The other thing too is that it was a song that obviously Bowie loved and was loved by his fans because it basically from the time it was released, it was like in nearly all of his live sets. So I feel like for that reason also it needs to be here because it has a lot of staying power, right? Other songs he would abandon for years and then maybe come back to, or he would leave out and then finally start singing live. So this one was pretty consistently there. So for that reason, I think it needs to be here.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next track that we're going to talk about is the first one that isn't on the album, but was a hit single. It's Diamond Dogs.
Come out of the garden, baby. You'll catch a death in the fog. Young girl,
a number 21 hit in the UK and made it to number 66 in Australia, but it didn't chart anywhere else, so I guess maybe that's why it's not considered that big of a deal. But I'm going to take a guess here. It is the title track of the album. I'm going to guess you're not a fan.
No, this is the one song that I am a fan of. Haha. No, I think it's because it's weird. I like when, you know, artists do like the start-stop thing or have like some sort of distortion or something like that's just like what is happening in my ears. And so for me, having the distorted audio throughout, I really enjoyed that. And I think because, to me, if I can say this, sorry, Bowie fans, it kind of like makes me think of like a psychedelic rock kind of vibe. Yeah. And so from, you know, the previous album, like Black Country Rock, again, I see those kind of influence coming into play, and so that's kind of why I like it. I also kind of like howling with him. That's like a fun little part. And yeah, I have in my notes that it's a never-ending song, but I'm not bored because it's not just that's like streamlined. There is some interesting things happening throughout. We see the sax again, and then the piano at the very end. So I think for me, having like all those elements of like distortion, weirdness, you know, him making weird sounds, and then also the sax and the piano is like, that's a Bowie song.
Okay, I was going to leave it off, but you might have convinced me to keep it on. Okay, the next one is also not on Legacy. It's Knock on Wood. Recorded during the David Live album, which was in concert in Philadelphia. This version made it to number 10 in the UK charts, made it to number 49 in Australia, didn't chart anywhere else. It's obviously a cover of a fairly well-known song.
This one, I enjoyed the sax throughout. However, I don't like this album because he always scared me. Him on the cover, he does not look well.
He admitted that himself.
Yeah. So because we were quite young when we were getting into Bowie, I think for that reason I was never a fan. I would never pull this one off the shelf because I was like, this guy, something about him.
So maybe for that reason, this is the safe space to listen to it because it's got a different cover.
Exactly.
It's not attached to that album.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, I thought like whatever was happening between 1 minute and 19 seconds and 1 minute and 28 seconds, I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I also think that, like what I said earlier about Sorrow being a good representation of covers, I think Bowie was a really great live performer. So I think we need one live song on here. And I think this is the one that's justified because it was a hit, right? Yeah. Other live songs weren't, and he didn't really release a lot of live singles. So this is kind of all we have to run off of. Let's throw it on. Yeah.
And that makes sense to know that it's not his song because I have that the lyrics are nothing special. So I think, knowing that he wasn't the one writing them, he's just the one performing them. Okay, I have a different take on it now,
Mm-hmm. Young Americans is the next song. It is on the Legacy album. It was a number 18 hit in the UK, number 28 in the US, number 33 in Canada. And just for listeners, what I find super interesting as I was going through the charts to find out this information, as I said, Young Americans is number 33. It was at its peak in Canada. Whereas the song Autobahn by Kraftwerk made it to number 15.
Wow.
Which is like how Canadian musical tastes at this time must have just, to me, I feel like Young Americans is for sure the more commercial song between the two.
Absolutely.
So the fact that Autobahn just had a great amount of fans and I guess radio airplay in 1975, crazy. And then it also made it to number 27 in Australia.
Mm-hmm. Again, this one, I take back my former statement that I don't like the songs that are named after the album.
Okay, good, because this is one of my favorite David Bowie songs.
Yeah.
So if you were going to attack this, this might be the end of the show.
Yeah, no, this is a great song. Lyrically, so great. The sax, so great. Mm-hmm. Just such a groovy song. And I think because, again, there isn't just a streamlined sound. Like he has those like
Yeah.
like things that he sings at the end or like towards the end. That's just like, okay, like there's like something different that's happening here. 10 out of 10 song, like for sure has to be on the Legacy album.
Yeah, I really love how you were really apprehensive about trying to sing Life on Mars, but whenever you just for Young Americans, no problem.
Just kind of came out of me.
Yeah.
I was possessed by Bowie or something.
Anyways, as I said, this is one of my favorite Bowie songs. I agree with you. The lyrics are fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't know if you listened, because you know the song, obviously. I don't know if you listened to the Legacy version, but on
I
there
didn't.
they have the single version, which is horrible because it cuts out that kind of middle verse. So it's a really bad
Interesting
version.
choice.
And there's like a really horrible transition to make that work.
Oh.
Yeah, so definitely what they should have done, and anytime Young Americans is on a Bowie compilation, just put the album version on. Don't put the single version on. We can afford the extra 2 minutes. It's worth it. So keep it there.
Yeah, that's interesting that they did that. Do you know what the choice was behind?
Well, I think, right, just,
to shorten it?
Yeah, because when you want single airplay, right, usually you want to stick around the 3-minute 30 mark.
Yeah, but if it's not as good, what the heck?
Well, maybe that's when it only made it to number 33. Maybe, because although Autobahn, which is I think 22-minute song or whatever.
I was gonna say
the edit is like 4 minutes. So.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay. Well, can't win them all, I guess.
No.
Hey, what you like is in liver. Hey, what you get is no tomorrow. Hey, what you need you have to borrow. Hey.
Next up is Fame, which was Bowie's first number 1 US single. Made it to number 17 in the UK, number 3 in Canada. So I think that was his highest charting Canadian single up until this point. Australia, not interested.
Yeah.
Skip that one. Netherlands, number 6. Which is also interesting is the later remix Fame 90, when it was released as a single, made it to number 28 in the UK, and then also made it to number 16 in the Netherlands.
It's a good song. To me, if I were to compare Young Americans to Fame, like Young Americans is far superior. So I wouldn't personally need Fame on the album, but because the charts are quite high, I understand like why it would make an appearance. But it kind of falls in line with Changes, G and Genie, like that kind of category of Bowie songs, which I don't typically gravitate towards.
Yeah. Okay. I agree. I think we have to keep it because of its popularity. Something that for me also, it's not something I gravitate towards naturally, but something that has softened my heart to it in recent years is that it's my wife's favorite Bowie song. And it was, I think, probably the first Bowie song that I played for that she had a positive or like a visibly positive reaction to. So for that reason alone, I think if it can win her over, it can win other people over too, right? So I think we got to keep it
right,
because that could be the gateway, right?
Right, absolutely. Well, yeah, that's the thing too, right? We have a very different listening ear for Bowie than maybe the general public or people who don't listen to him as regularly. So that makes sense.
Next up is Golden Years, which obviously kind of follows that Fame kind of vibe.
This must be the lost but soul. Once I'm begging you save a little soul.
Number 8 in the UK. It was a number 10 single in the US, number 17 in Canada, and for Bowie, this was kind of his last big successful song in the US until Under Pressure, so it's kind of the last one for a while. Definitely super catchy. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a good song. It's good.
What I find interesting about it is, I think it's really catchy, but it's, I think, like one of his forgotten hit singles. Like it's not something that you, like if you were naming like the big Bowie songs, you'd say Fame, Rebel Rebel, Genie, but like you might forget to mention Golden Years. But I feel like when you hear it, you're like, oh, this is so catchy. This is groovy,
Yeah, maybe that's what's happening right now because I can't even play it in my head.
Oh wow!
Like I'm like, what the heck is this song? Like I know it's one of his big songs, but or not obviously as you just said, it's big singles, but it's something. But no.
And this is a real fun song to sing along to. It's got like it's got a big range. It's got some whistling in it. So
okay, checks off my list.
Yeah.
I approve.
Next up is that we're going to talk about is TBC15, not on Bowie Legacy, but it was number 33 hit in the UK, made it to number 64 in the US, did not chart anywhere else, but it seemed to have some sort of popularity from its release until about 1990, when Bowie would bring it out in live shows semi-regularly. He also performed it at Live Aid, which was obviously one of his more visible concert appearances. I think actually this is how we started off the set at Live Aid, so
wow,
kind of an interesting way to do it. I'm dying to know what you think about this one.
Okay, this one, my first question is, what is a TBC15?
I think the song is based on David Bowie and Iggy Pop are hanging out, doing a lot of drugs, and then Iggy Pop thinks his girlfriend has been swallowed by the television.
Wow.
So David Bowie decides, I'm going to write a song about it.
Okay.
So I think it actually is a TV.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I really like this song. I like the piano at the start. To me, it had a kind of like a Western influence, or it was a very saloon-y kind of vibe.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Very saloon, yeah.
And I appreciate that. I love the choppiness of the lyrics throughout, and also his vocal range to me was fantastic. And then the funky guitar sounds, and then again the sax. So it kind of again ties up. It's I find a very digestible song, but it also has those weird sparks of Bowie throughout, which I really appreciate as
it's
a Bowie
pretty loony.
listener.
Yeah. I think I would still leave it off because I think after repeated listens it can get a little irritating.
Ooh.
But
well, the Legacy album is so long, so do you think people are going to be listening to this
that's true
on loop?
Yeah, I guess I'd be afraid this might be the one where they say, okay, it's been long enough, I gotta shut it down.
Oh yeah. Fair enough. It is 5 minutes. That's a long song.
I mean, there is a single version that doesn't cut out anything super crucial, so
right,
because it is pretty repetitive towards the end. So
yeah.
So maybe that's the solution for this one.
Yeah, but knowing the backstory, I think that's a cool way to listen to the song. Is knowing that it's a TV.
Yeah. Yeah. What was your guess? Did you have one?
I did not. I was like, what? TBC15? I was like, is this an instrument? Yeah. Is this because then I was like, maybe it's an acronym for something. Yeah. So I was like, what is the vision core? I was just could not there was
playing anagrams.
Yeah, exactly. And then 15, I was like, okay, is this 15 years old? I don't know, but yeah.
That's the color of my room where I will live.
Next up is Sound and Vision, which was a number 3 hit in the UK, and actually was the 31st best-selling UK single of 1977, so a pretty big deal in the UK. In the US, it made it to number 69, which is, we see obviously that drop. Golden Years again made it to number 10. Then TBC15 was 64, and now we're at 69. So we see, that obviously in the US is commercial standing is starting to slide a bit. In Canada, Sound and Vision only made it to 87. In Australia, number 74. But in the Netherlands, it made it to number 2.
To me, this was kind of... It's not my favorite album of his. Okay. I'll say that. Even though it is quite the song that I'm thinking of, Always Crashing in the Same Car, it is quite there's not much happening in it that would...
monotone.
Yeah, monotone. Thank you. I would prefer that song over Sound and Vision.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, to me, Sound and Vision is one of my personal favorites.
Yeah.
I think it's just gorgeous, the synths that are on there. It has a saxophone.
I know, but something, for whatever reason, it wasn't as alluring or catching as some of his other work.
And yeah, I think it's really cool that the vocal comes in quite late in the song. I think there aren't that many lyrics, but the lyrics that are there are just really impressionistic. And they help you just kind of imagine a scenario. I think this is a beautiful song, so I would keep it. I'm quite nervous to talk about this next one because you have set yourself up for disliking title tracks, and this is...
Oh, come on now.
Are you going to say anything bad about this?
No.
Oh, okay. Thank goodness. Because I was going to say, when you first said that, I was thinking, Heroes, you're going to knock Heroes?
No.
Because this is an incredible song. number 24 in the UK, didn't chart in the US, didn't chart in Canada, but made it to number 11 in Australia and number 9 in the Netherlands.
That surprises me that it didn't even chart in North America.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, this is one of those songs that it was only through Bowie's touring that the song gained
Wow.
an audience, right? I think if he hadn't played it live ever, I don't think we'd be talking about it. It was really because like fans realized this is a great song,
Right.
And then just in general recognized it was a great song. Obviously, the vocal performance is incredible.
For those who are still listening, my previous statements do not hold true. Heroes, like, yeah, that, and I have strong associations with this song to a film, but not like what's that movie called?
The Perks of Being a Wallflower?
Yes, yeah. So that's whenever I think of the song, I think of that movie, but just like the freeing essence of this song and just like honestly wanting to stand up like in the back of a like truck and just like drive through a tunnel, like, yes, I would absolutely do that. And yeah, this song, like, I have no notes. It's so beautiful. I love the slow build. I love the lyrics. I love how it all comes together, and it really puts my mind at ease. Like, it's just one of those songs where it's like, yeah, we can all just be heroes.
Yeah.
Or whatever the lyrics are that I might have just butchered.
No, I mean, it's pretty close. What I would say about this, I think if I was to make a little change here on Legacy, again on Legacy, they put the single version on, which cuts out 3 of the 6 minutes. And so, like, you don't get that same build.
The build, yeah.
So you definitely have to put the album version on. But I would even go further, and I would put the German language version, which has the first 2 verses in English, and then it's German the rest of the way, which is in Jojo Rabbit.
I was just gonna say Jojo Rabbit, yeah.
Because I think, actually, somehow, even though Bowie obviously wasn't a native German speaker, that version I feel like is even more passionate than the English version.
Right.
And I think it'd just be cool, like, on a compilation album, you all of a sudden have this, like, wait, he sings in German now?
Yeah. I totally forgot that it was in Jojo Rabbit, but that is, like, to me, I find this song, like, I could listen to it for 22 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it could be longer. It's just one of those songs that you just fall in love with, and then you're just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it just got such a weight to it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you feel like it's, like, in a way, it's very gloomy, but at the same time, it's heavy in, like, the sense of, like, a blanket that just kind of, like, wrapping you into its world. You know?
Exactly, yeah. It's not a heaviness that's negative. It's like putting those weighted blankets on to, like, help you fall asleep, you know? It's a very comforting song, weirdly, but...
Yes, but I wouldn't, but not a sleeping song, though.
No, not a sleeping song, no. You would be tapping your toes too much to go to bed, but...
falling asleep as Bowie's screaming in your ear.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, like, raining, like, just...
It's a rain song,
yeah,
for sure.
It's great. Headphones in. I find most of Bowie songs, you have to listen with your headphones on, whatever headphones you have. Like, this one I feel like you could listen to in your car, but it just does something... itches your brain.
Yeah.
When it's just that close.
Yeah.
Uncage the colors, unfurl the flag. Love just kissed you hello when you're a boy.
Next up is Boys Keep Swinging, which was a number 7 song in the UK. Didn't chart in the US. It wasn't released in the US as a single because its lyrics were deemed too controversial. Didn't chart in Canada, where it was released. Made it to number 85 in Australia and number 16 in the Netherlands.
I really like this song. I think it's very fun. Very fun and funky. It's, I feel it's a very unexpected song. I remember when I was prepping for today, I was like, I don't think I've ever heard this song. And then I played it and I was like, oh, of course I've heard this song. So yeah, I would definitely keep it on the Legacy album because I think it's...
Yeah, and it ties back to the Rebel gender play thing. It's also a very funny lyric, which a lot of Bowie lyrics, or at least a lot of the songs that are on this Legacy compilation aren't. A lot of them are pretty serious, heavy stuff. So it's kind of nice to see that side of him a little bit. And I agree, it's just a fun one. It's nice and short.
Nice and catchy. Yeah. You'll just be snapping your fingers, boys.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And also I think, you know, it has that like really dissonant violin going on. So like there's something weird there too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's great. Yeah. And unexpected, but good song.
Yeah. We're also going to talk about DJ, which was another single released from the album Lodger.
I am a DJ, I am what I play. I've got believers believing me.
was number 29 hit single in the UK and made it to number 98 in Australia. So here I'm really stretching the definition of hit single because the number 98 isn't much to write home about. It didn't chart anywhere else, but I thought it was worth talking about. So what do you want to say about this one?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this song. I enjoyed many of the songs on Lodger, but this one I felt that the vocal range was great, very captivating instrumentals, and I really love the exasperation in his voice at the end of the song, like starting at like the 302 mark. Like to me, it's weird, but it's great to me. And then I found, I'm not sure if this is an accurate statement, but the lyric placement reminded me a little bit of the Talking Heads, kind of just how it was phrased out in the song.
This is actually a song that was directly influenced by Talking Heads.
Oh, okay, well, there it is.
Yeah.
I didn't even know this, and
it.
I caught on.
Yeah, I think I would keep it on the album just because I feel like we were talking about, Ziggy tracks to keep on and like how like maybe there's too much Ziggy representation. I feel like unfortunately in a lot of David Bowie compilation albums we don't get enough Berlin era stuff, and that is, at least for a lot of musicians, that is like really the key era of his music, right? So I think you have to have that. So if we can add at least one more Berlin song. He obviously wasn't releasing a whole lot of singles during this period, so that doesn't help. We got this single here. It's good. Let's put it on.
Yeah, agree.
Ashes to ash and funk to funk it. We know Major Tom's a junkie, strung out in heaven's high, hitting an all-time low.
So next up is Ashes to Ashes, which was a number one in the UK. So this is a big one, right? This is his first number one since Space Oddity. It was only a number one in the UK for a week, but was still the UK's 15th best-selling single of that year. So quite large. In the US, it didn't chart. In Canada, it made it to number 35. In Australia, number 3, and it made it to number 15 in the Netherlands.
Again, a song. I really like this album. I also feel this album is a no skip. I like front to back. I will listen to it. Okay. But yeah, Ashes to Ashes. I really like, because this is the one where he's a clown, right? In the music video, and it's like has that very like grainy, etched, whatever. There's like a bulldozer or something, and he's like crawling down the bulldozer, falling in or something. So the weirdness element, I really like. I find it's a very catchy song in like a different way where it's not like you're not like smiling and singing it maybe, but it's just like a song that you can come back to repeatedly and not get bored of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is definitely a song that absorbs you. Yeah, this is another personal favorite of mine. I think it's really again, those synths are just they just draw you in,
Yeah.
His vocal is really great on the song, and what I kind of want to stop and talk about for a minute here is how what I love about Bowie, especially, I mean other artists do this too, but when you're listening to it, it's almost like when he's singing it, he's not, or he's like aware that the way he's phrasing things make it sound like he might be saying something else, and like you're kind of like, if you're not reading the lyric sheet, right, you can kind of come up with your own variation of what he's saying. And so in the song, he says, "No smoking pistol." What I heard before I ever looked at that lyric was, I thought he said, "Look what smoking has done." And I thought he was talking about, because like his voice is like really like, you can kind of hear like a little bit of a smoker voice there. So I thought, like, I thought, because I was a kid when I was, thinking this. So I thought it was like a little PSA for like anti-tobacco,
Yeah, he's a dare.
Yeah.
Rep.
But and there's like stories of Bowie saying that when he wrote lyrics, he didn't always, like, he sometimes chose words for the music of them as opposed to the actual like literal meaning of the words, which I think lends itself to my "look what smoking has done" thing. But there is a little bit of dispute on that from other people in the Bowie world. His first love, Hermione, said that really Bowie did value words a lot and like their meaning, so that would kind of contradict maybe what he had said. And then when he was working with Ivo van Hove on the musical Lazarus, Van Hove asked Bowie if they could have a one-on-one meeting, that he would never reveal the contents of that meeting to anybody, but they would sit down and Bowie would go through what his songs meant, like why he wrote them.
Okay.
And apparently, again, Van Hove hasn't talked about what those songs meant, but he said that he was amazed at how personal all these lyrics are, and like, which is, because when you're
right,
when you read the lyrics, you don't think like they don't seem that personal or emotional or vulnerable, but apparently they are. So
wow.
The final thing I'll say about lyrics and Bowie that I think is interesting is that when his music was being re-released by Ryko, when they were printing lyrics in the booklets, apparently he was with Tin Machine at the time, and he was riding in their tour bus, and he would look at the lyrics and he would say, I don't even know what I was writing about here. So again, a little contradiction, because when he was working with Van Hove, apparently he had a very firm idea of what he had written the songs about, and then other times, I guess, I don't know. So
right. Yeah.
It's a mystery, which I think it should remain.
I think that's just kind of off topic here, but there's an artist that I've recently really got into, and his name's McGee, and he also does not produce the lyrics of his songs, because he it's like a guessing game. Some people will say, oh, this is the lyric, and then other folks are like, no, this is the lyric, and it's like he only knows what the true lyric is.
Yeah, cool.
And so I think it's cool to kind of have that like mysterious persona, especially nowadays where everything, you could Google and search like anything about the artist. So just to kind of keep some of those intimate moments to them, I think I really appreciate that they do that. And the one last thing, when you were talking about the lyrics for Ashes to Ashes, I really like the uneven drumming that happens throughout that kind of, but then also like in the tension between that and like the really like beautiful melody. And I think it adds a little bit more to that mystery of like what's going on.
Well, what I am curious about this McGee character is, do you think that he is okay with never having a karaoke version, or do you think the karaoke version will just be music and then you just have to sing what you remember?
I would say sing what you remember.
Yeah.
Like, I think he does have because on Spotify they'll have the lyrics. I think they're there, but I don't like.
But I think that's AI though that does that. I don't think.
Oh,
it's
okay. Yeah, well, because even when I was listening to some Bowie songs, I was like, that's not what he's saying here. Like, I'm pretty sure. But anyways, like, he doesn't correct fans, so I think like. Because if you ever like watched him perform or anything, like, he's a very mysterious man. Okay. So I think he really like, and there's also like parts where he'll say like certain names, and then people are like, is that like his girlfriend, or is that like his guitar? Like, who is he talking about here? Like, and so there's again this like kind of mysterious cloud that like surrounds him that adds to the music, in my opinion.
So that's why you had that whole thing about TBC 1.5. That's why you're thinking it could be an instrument because of this McGee guy.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Fashion, turn to the left. Fashion, fashion. We are the Goon Squad and we're coming to town. Beep, beep.
Next up is Fashion, which was a number 5 hit single in the UK, number 70 in the US. Didn't chart in Canada. Australia made it to number 27 and did not chart in the Netherlands. Obviously, so you said you're a Scary Monsters fan, so you must like this song.
I do like this song. Yeah. I think it's like a fun, funky song. It's a song that you can kind of do whatever you want to do with, if it's, again, like washing your dishes or going out, and like if the song came on at the club, I think that would be like a fun little moment to dance to. And I think the layers of it, because again I would loop this in with like Gene Genie, Changes, like those are kind of the big songs that I would put together in a little pot, but this one has a little bit of difference to it because it has like the slower moments, then it picks up again, and then beep beep, like it's just like fun, like weird little sounds that he adds throughout that I really enjoy. So
okay.
Yeah.
This is not one of my favorite Bowie songs, but I would keep it, especially because of the slow moments. I think that's a really beautiful part of the song. The guitar, I find, is a little too abrasive for my taste. But
sure.
The next one we're going to talk about is Up the Hill Backwards.
While we sleep, they go to work. We're legally crippled. It's the death of love. It's got nothing to do with you if one can grasp it.
The real reason I think this is really interesting to talk about here is because it made it to number 32 in the UK, didn't chart anywhere else except in Canada, where it made it to number 49. And then just remember, Fashion did not chart. Fashion got nowhere in Canada, but Up the Hill Backwards was the song that Canadians flocked to. So, what do you want to say about this one?
So this was, I had never heard this song before, this podcast, so this was a new one for me. But I really loved the like jump into it right away, like off the bat. We're in it, locked in. We're in it for the however many long the song is, like 4 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever. I also really enjoyed the hard drumming throughout. Like I found that was quite interesting, especially with like that grungy guitar. I loved, the guitar being all over the place, and from 2:08 until the end of the song, that was like great. Did not, again, make my descriptors very clear, other than I put a heart beside it, so I must have enjoyed it.
Yeah, if you're curious, listen to the song from 2:08 on. Yeah, it's obviously a very different Bowie song because it has that group vocal, right?
Yeah.
It's not just Bowie singing. He's got some backing vocalists helping him out along the whole track. So it is interesting. Yeah, this is a song that back in the day when I was a teenager and people would ask me, or they wouldn't ask me, I would just create Bowie playlists. This is a song I would often throw on because it is so different from the rest of his work. So I think it's worth having some representation here of that. Next up is Under Pressure.
It's a terror of knowing what this world is about. Watching some good friends screaming, let me out. Tomorrow, let me hide. People on the streets.
Now, of course, most people think of at least the kind of riff of this song as Ice Ice Baby, but this is the original. It was a number one. Yeah, it was a number one song in the UK, but it only made it to number 29 in the US. It did make it to number 45 after Bowie's death in 2016 in the US. In Canada in 1981, it made it to number 3. After Bowie's death, it made it to number 30. A remix called The Raw Mix was released in 1999. Made it to number 14 in the UK. The original version made it to number 6 in Australia, and it was a number 1 hit in the Netherlands. So obviously it's a big one.
Yeah.
I'm assuming we're gonna leave it there.
Yeah, it's a great song. It's really fun, a great listen, but it's also so emotional. Like there's just like so much there, and I think it's Freddie Mercury's part, but kind of towards the end, where it's just like the isolated vocals and it's very high pitched. So again, we'll not sing it for you today. But that part, like in thinking about like the build to this like moment, it's just like you almost like hold your breath while he's singing this like one section before it just let it all out again.
Kind of disappointing about it obviously is I feel like it's, and rightfully so, I mean, most of the musicians on the song are Queen members, so it is seen more as a Queen song than a David Bowie song, and it kind of irks me that like on Spotify, like David Bowie's top song is this duet here. But something I did learn to appreciate about the song, because you mentioned Freddie Mercury's part, and I think when you're listening to it, you think, Freddie Mercury like definitely. If this was a contest, Freddie Mercury definitely won. But if you ever try to sing Bowie's part, it actually does require
It
a
hurts.
lot of it does require a lot of breathing technique because it actually does elongate a lot of the words. And actually, I think the best part he does on the song is his backing vocals while Freddie's singing, because those are actually, when you sing them, like, oh, this is really melodic and really cool. So I think that actually is a underdog.
Yeah. And I feel like for people singing along, you'll have a better chance of singing those backing than trying to go off with Freddie.
That's always a mistake, that one. Yeah, don't try that at home. Next, we're going to talk about another duet, this time Bowie's duet with Bing Crosby. Peace on Earth, Little Drummer Boy. It made it to number 3 in the UK charts when it was released in 1982. It was recorded in 1977. And then, Bowie's RCA label was basically just trying to milk his product before he started a contract with EMI. So they were just looking through the archives, whether we got this single, let's put it out. And then, as I mentioned earlier in the show, it made it to number 2 in Canada in the year 2001 for an unknown reason. It was not re-released in 2001. And just all of a sudden, 2001, the song clicked in Canada.
Wow.
So, but like, you know, as I mentioned earlier, it is a song you hear on the radio
Yeah.
once in a while at Christmas time. It's not like Happy Christmas, War is Over or whatever, but it is in some form of rotation at Christmas time. What do you want to say about this one?
Yeah, I think this is a great duo. I really love their voices together. I also love them putting the two songs kind of in one and mashing them up, one on top of the other. I'm not sure if it deserves a place on the Legacy album, but I do think it's a great song. Like, it's an easy listen. You feel inspired after you listen to the song, weirdly. But yeah, I'm not sure if it should go on the Legacy album.
I think it should, because I feel like it's a song that is so often ignored on Bowie compilations and just in Bowie's world in general. Like, it was successful. It's
That's
a song that
true.
is on the radio.
That's true.
Which a lot of these songs aren't. So, you know, I mean, like, other artists have their Christmas songs, and that seems to be fine to throw it on the compilation album. You know, I think what you want to do is you want to somehow line it up where this is the last track on a side of vinyl, right? So that if you don't want to listen to the Christmas song, you just take the needle off, and then you flip it to the next side, you know?
Right.
But it's there if you want it.
Right. I could appreciate that.
And again, it shows a different side of Bowie, right? Here is just a little more sentimental, warm, as you say.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice.
It is nice. Like, the music video is very beautiful for this song. Him just knocking on the door, coming on in. But I will say, what's interesting about this song is when I was trying to find it on my Spotify to listen, it was like impossible to find.
Oh shoot! See, that's why it needs to be on these albums. It needs to get more exposure.
Yeah. So I will say it's not well known.
Okay, so next up is a song you kind of spoiled when we were talking about this episode a few days ago and recording it. A song that I think you said you're quite a big fan of.
Yes.
Cat People, Putting Out Fire. Again, this is not on the Legacy album, but this actually was a pretty successful single, so it is kind of surprising that it's not on here. It made it number 26 in the UK, number 67 in the US, but now get ready for some big numbers here. Number 13 in Canada, and number 15 in Australia.
I love the song. I think it is so cool. I love the build. I do think I like the album version better than the version that you had asked me to listen to.
You'd like the Let's Dance version better?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I felt this one on the Cat People, that album, this version just felt a little bit dragged out vocally, where I like the succinctness of the Let's Dance version. But I love the drums throughout. I think it's just like such a weird song. Yeah, I really like the song. I love the lyrics. I like to sing to the song.
Well, yes, I feel like generally people tend to gravitate towards the Cat People soundtrack version.
Oh, okay.
More than the Let's Dance version. They feel the Let's Dance version is maybe a little watered down. Yeah, I think, I really like the synths on the Cat People soundtrack version. I have nothing against the Let's Dance version. I think it's great too, but I think his vocal is maybe a little more interesting on the soundtrack version.
Okay.
So that would be where I would go. But
yeah. Well, for me, I found the song through the Let's Dance album first, so I've spent more time with it. So I think it's not, anything where I'm like, oh, I'm never going to listen to this other version again. It's just, that's where I'm most familiar. But I don't think I'm opposed to the Cat People soundtrack version.
Okay. Next song is Let's Dance.
Put on your red shoes and dance the blues. Let's dance to the song they're playing on the radio.
This was Bowie's most successful single in the US in terms of sales.
Wow.
It was a number one in the UK, where it was stayed there for 3 weeks. Number one in the US, number one in Canada. It was actually the third best-selling single in Canada in 1983, so a pretty big deal. Number 2 in Australia, and number 1 in the Netherlands. I think with those numbers, how do you feel about the song?
Yeah.
You gotta keep it.
It's a must say. Well, it's such a fun song. It's really great. I think it's a very digestible for folks who aren't necessarily wanting to listen to the entire discography of Bowie, but it's also it's just so fun. The sax in it, it's not like he's echoing his own voice, but whatever he does when he's singing, like when he has like those like moments of like contrast with the instruments, if that makes sense, I really appreciate. So I think it's weird enough for it to not be categorized with Rebel, Genie.
Oh, really?
Like
Oh,
I would,
okay.
yeah, I would have. It's kind of in the same category, but it's in the middle of the Venn diagram.
Huh.
It's in its own separate.
Okay, see, I wouldn't say the song is weird at all, but it's definitely enjoyable.
Yeah, it's just it has a little bit more substance to it than some of his other big songs.
Yeah, that's true.
I would say,
yeah.
and that's with the weirdness that I'm referring to.
Yeah, particularly the music video.
Yes.
Which tackles colonialism and all that stuff. So.
Yeah.
Next up, another song from Let's Dance.
I could pretend nothing really meant too much when I look at my China girl.
China Girl, number 2 in the UK, where it also was there for 3 weeks, like Let's Dance. Number 10 in the US, number 6 in Canada, was the 43rd best-selling single in Canada in 1983. Number 15 in Australia, and number 5 in the Netherlands.
Yeah, I think it's a good song. It's more monotone. I mean, obviously, very different from Let's Dance. A little bit more monotone, but it is still interesting. I think for this song, I just remember listening to it or having it stuck in my head or something when we were like swinging on the swings, like in Mary's backyard. So I do have like memories attached to this song. So for some, they might not gravitate to it in the same way, but yeah, I would say it's good.
Yeah, I think it is a great song. I think there are some better versions live than the recorded version, but I think it is just, to me, I think it's endlessly fascinating that this song is so popular when like the lyrics talk about fascism. Like I just like yeah, and I think that's just great, like that he was able to like pull the wool over people's eyes.
Absolutely.
It's a very political song, but like no one really caught on because of the instrumentation, right?
Yeah.
It's so catchy. And
Yeah, absolutely.
next up, Modern Love.
Never gonna fall for walks beside me, walks on by, gets me to the church on time.
The final big single from Let's Dance. Number 2 in the UK, again 3-week stay there. Number 14 in the US, number 2 in Canada. It was the 24th best-selling single in Canada in 1983. Australia number 6 and the Netherlands number 10.
Also a great song,
Yeah.
so catchy. Even though it is quite repetitive lyrically,
Yeah.
like you'll sing it all the way till the end. Like all of a sudden you're like, all right, here we go, round 4. And I also have memories of us swinging on the swings in Mary's backyard, where we would like be swinging in opposite directions,
there
and
you
that's
go.
how we would sing the lyrics to Modern Love.
Oh yeah, we're doing the,
Yeah.
the call and repeat.
Yeah,
call
yeah.
and response.
Exactly. I'm sure
Cool.
Mary's dad was like, what the heck are they doing?
Just for context, Mary was one of our childhood neighbors, and I'm assuming this memory that I don't recall. I'm assuming that Mary was not there.
No, it was
on
just
the-
us. Just us on the swing set. So that's why her dad was like, oh my gosh, here they go again, doing some weird stuff on our poor swing set. But yeah, it's so fun. Very easy listen. I would absolutely leave it on the Legacy album.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, actually, when we're looking at Modern Love and just in this context of Legacy, it is the first Bowie song on this album to reference religion directly, which is like when I think of David Bowie, I feel like there's so much stuff about his relationship with God and just God's relationship with humans in general. So it's interesting that it only finally clicks for like in a single commercial sense on this song. I mean, you could argue obviously that "Oh You Pretty Things" dealt with religion, Starman in a kind of indirect way, but here is like the first Bowie sung single,
Right.
that is like clearly God is mentioned. We're talking about religion.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, just that you have to wait so long in the album to get
Right.
that kind of content, right? Because we obviously deal with space and loneliness right away, but
Yeah.
it'll take a while to get to the religion thing. Okay, next up is Blue Jean.
Sometimes
This was a number 6 hit single in the UK, number 8 in the US, number 6 in Canada. It was the 53rd best-selling single in Canada for 1984, number 12 in Australia, and number 10 in Netherlands.
I would say the song fun, great song. Really like the instrumentality throughout, but I'm not sure if I would keep it on the Legacy album.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it is. To me, I would put it in the same category as Golden Years. I feel
Yeah.
like it's a little bit lesser of a single, but it is, to me, still very catchy and like very enjoyable whenever I hear it. I particularly remember I have this song that I really like is back when, before AI existed, if you can remember that time, some people would go to great lengths to remove instruments from songs so you could just have a vocal only version on YouTube or whatever.
Oh, yes.
And there was, for whatever reason, someone had done that for all the songs on the Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, and then this song. They didn't do Heroes, which I was looking for, because like that would be a cool song to hear vocals only.
Absolutely.
But when you actually listen to the vocal only version of Blue Jean, Bowie's actually like going for it on this song.
Interesting.
And you don't hear it too much just because those horns are so loud.
Yeah, they're very in your face.
But yeah, he's really doing some like just some really passionate vocals. So for that reason alone, I would keep it. And yeah, it's just fun. Next up is This Is Not America, a duet that he does with the Pat Metheny group.
There was a time when that blue was so young. Oh, this could be the biggest sky. I could have a faintest idea. But this is not America.
This was a UK hit song, number 14, number 32 in the US, number 21 in Canada, number 33 in Australia, and number 2 in the Netherlands.
I wouldn't put this one on the Legacy album as
Okay.
well. But I'm just wondering if the reason that they're doing it is because it did chart pretty well, but also just to show that he's not just like a single guy. Like he was willing to collaborate with other artists, I'm wondering. But yeah, to me, it's not necessarily memorable.
Okay, so yeah, I really like this song. I think, I to me, it's like the same as Ashes to Ashes. Like it has that absorbing quality, just loops me in. He obviously, you know, again, the music is provided by Pat Metheny group, so you don't have another similar sounding song in Bowie's catalog,
Right.
And I find his vocal very emotional. Next, we're going to talk about Tonight.
Everything will be alright tonight. Everything will be alright tonight.
And this is, you're going to notice that here we're going to deviate a little bit from Legacy quite a bit, because Legacy, like most Bowie compilations, skips over the 80s pretty significantly. But this is still a very successful charting period for Bowie. So Tonight made it to number 53 in the UK. Okay, maybe not great. In the US, also number 53. Again, maybe not fantastic, but for a Bowie song in the US, I mean, it still made it on the charts,
Yeah.
so that's something. In Canada, it was a number 21 hit single. Okay, so that's pretty significant.
Yeah.
Australia, number 70, and the Netherlands, it made it to number 45. A live version recorded with Tina Turner, who sings on this song on the album version as well. But a song recorded with Tina Turner live in 1985 made it to number 1 in the Netherlands when that version was released as a single.
Yeah, I found this song to be quite different from what kind of we were previously like, I guess his musical choices in previous years. But perhaps because we're now kind of in the 80s, like he deviated a bit there. But I didn't find it all that captivating. The next song that we'll be talking about, I like that one more than Tonight.
Yeah, I agree. It's not that great of a song, so I'm okay leaving it off. But I just thought it was very interesting that this song seems to have landed so well in Canada.
Believing the strangest things, loving the alien. You're afraid till the break of dawn.
Okay, so you obviously have a positive outlook on Loving the Alien,
Yes.
which was a number 19 hit in the UK. In the US, it did not chart. In Canada, did not chart, but it made it to number 65 in Australia and number 25 in the Netherlands.
Yeah, this song I was more drawn to this song than Tonight. I have the ethereal synth sounds and piano. I thought that was very interesting in contrast to the percussion and strings. Like, I just thought there was like lots happening with the music itself. The vocals were great. And then is this song about terrorism and war? Because there was like that one line about Palestine, which I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah, no, well, it does. It basically, the song is about how religion leads to a lot of conflict.
Oh, okay. And
it's really a takedown of organized religion.
Oh, okay, interesting. I'll have to re-listen to that in mind then. So I felt like just from the lyrics, I was like, wow, it's very prevalent what's happening right now in 2025.
Exactly.
And what has been happening for, decades now, but especially kind of what, I guess that tension is kind of coming up to a bubbling point is what we're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was just interesting, that we're having this conversation now and kind of going back to these songs and what he was singing about in the 80s, we're still talking about in 2025.
Yeah, I think my favorite lyric from the song actually is when he says, prayers, they hide the saddest view. I think that is, to me, really captures my view on religion, where, people seek it as a solace for
right.
whatever trouble they're going through, right? And,
yeah.
But then, as the song points out, we end up inflicting pain on other groups.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I think it's a really great Bowie piece. So I would be for putting it on the Legacy album.
I'd keep it too.
Yeah.
And it was a personal favorite of Bowie's as well. So the next song is Dancing in the Street.
It doesn't matter what you wear, just as long as you are there. So come on, every guy, grab a girl, everywhere, around the world, every day, dancing in the street.
UK, number 1 hit. Number 7 in the US, number 1 in Canada, number 1 in Australia, number 1 in the Netherlands, and it was Canada's 26th best-selling single of 1985. Here he's obviously duetting with Mick Jagger. As I mentioned earlier in the show, this is the song that got me into David Bowie. I will say that now, as more of a Bowie fan, it's definitely not a song I enjoy that much, but it did have some sway over a 9-year-old boy back in the day. So for that reason alone, it's worth keeping, because look what I've become.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great song. Like, it's very catchy, a very easy listen, something that you don't necessarily have to be giving it your full attention to kind of think about what's going on, which I find that some of his other songs, like, you really have to be like sitting in a dark room, like that's what you're doing for the night. So yeah, great dance tune, great way to get people into some of Bowie's discography, but also hopefully they know that this is not always what he sounds like. So I feel like he kind of deviates into these like really happy kind of characters,
yeah, That's true. Next up is Absolute Beginners.
Well, if my love is your love, we're certain to succeed. If our love song could fly over mountains.
It was a number 2 hit in the UK, number 53 in the US, number 45 in Canada, number 5 in Australia, number 8 in the Netherlands.
Beautiful song. I really love this song. I have here in my notes, classic Bowie, has the piano, has the sax, has the range of vocals. Lyrically, it's so gorgeous. I wrote down, could be a very sweet wedding song. It's just like so beautiful. And I also put in my notes that the percussion, the 80s percussion I found it kind of reminded me of like Paul Simon.
Okay.
Like that's kind of what I was hearing when I was listening to the song. But it is on the album, because like this song has to stay on the album. Like it's just top tier, 10 out of 10, no notes. Love it.
Yeah, it is nice to see it on Legacy, because it didn't make all David Bowie compilation albums, but it really deserves its place there. Like, it is, as you say, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's one of the few times I feel like he's quite sincere in a romantic way in a song. The instrumentation, as you point out, is just gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great song. There's nothing more to really say about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Leave it there. Go listen to it if you haven't.
Next, we have a slew of songs that were not on Legacy but are worth talking about. So we're going to talk about Underground, obviously the lead single from the Labyrinth project. Number 21 in the UK, did not chart in the US. Number 73 in Canada, number 26 in Australia, and number 7 in the Netherlands. So globally, it was a pretty successful song.
I'm surprised that this was his leading single from the album. I would have thought As the World Falls Down. Like, to me, I prefer that song over this one.
That was actually going to be the third single, but they decided to hold it back.
Okay, yeah, because this one, like, to me, when I was listening to it again, because, I mean, I love Labyrinth. Watch it anytime it finds its way on a streaming service that I have. When I was listening to it for this podcast, it really was like, oh, yeah, this is like a credits song. Like, it wasn't like, I want to know more about what's happening or what this movie's about. Yeah. It's just like, it really does feel like the end of something. It doesn't really, or for my listen anyways, like so that's why I have in my notes that I'm not sure that it would capture a new audience, because it kind of, it's almost like too mysterious to be like, to put this on a legacy album. Because I felt, but maybe for folks who've never seen the movie and have never.
Don't you think it's like that gospel thing is just so catchy though?
Yes, I do have that. I really like the end, but I think for me, I would have rather As the World Falls Down.
Okay.
Because that song's also just so beautiful, it is. And has like that, also tension with what actually, or the actor in the movie and stuff. So
that's true. Yeah, I would keep Underground just because I think it's a really fun song. Yeah, again, it's a direction that Bowie didn't explore that much. So,
but would you prefer this song over Magic Dance? Because that's also a really fun song.
Yeah, I think so. I don't have a problem with Magic Dance, but it is not. I would say it's not as broad of an appeal as perhaps Underground could be. Because Underground, I think, can be appreciated by a lot of people, but the voices in Magic Dance are maybe for a specific demographic.
I just love that song. Okay. I have it on so many playlists.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, my friends, if they have me on Ox, Magic Dance might come up.
Okay, there you go. So now we're going to enter in the Never Let Me Down territory, which, has this really bad rap in the Bowie world, right? It's the album that he really tried to steer away from. He asked to be re-recorded after his death. Yeah, he never... After the tour that was associated with the album, he never touched these songs again live. But if we're looking at it from a chart perspective, these songs actually are doing considerable business.
Oh, come on, little baby. Big time, police shakedown.
Day In, Day Out, which was the lead single on the album, was a number 17 hit in the UK, number 21 in the US, number 16 in Canada, number 33 in Australia, and number 15 in the Netherlands.
I thought this was a very funky song. I liked all the instrumentals and like the background music. My question was, for this song and this album particularly, from 2 minutes and 40 seconds to 2 minutes and 46 seconds, it was giving me a lot of Brian Eno.
Oh.
Was he part of this?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Because I was like, interesting. I just like keep hearing like little, almost like Easter eggs or something, or influence from him throughout. But I thought it was a good song overall, like a good song just to kind of have on in the background. It's not something that I would be belting out to or like joining him, but I think it deserves a place on a compilation album. Maybe not legacy, but something equivalent.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that it was pretty successful, I think it maybe earns its place here. It's not a song I enjoy that much on a personal level, but I think Never Let Me Down, the album, deserves a little bit more love than it gets, so keep it on.
Yeah.
Keep it on.
There we go.
I got a bad migraine that lasted 3 long years, and the pills that I took made my fingers disappear.
Next up is Time Will Crawl, which was the second single released from Never Let Me Down. Made it to number 33 in the UK charts, did not chart in Canada, nor in the US, nor in Australia, but it did make it to number 71 in the Netherlands. The reason why I'm talking about it here is because it seemed to be anyway, Bowie's favorite song from these sessions, and a song that he did try and reclaim by having it remixed during his own lifetime.
Wow. Personally, I liked Day In, Day Out more than this song. I have my notes, nothing to write home about.
Okay.
Not as exciting. The sax and guitar are interesting though, but I just found the lyrics to be quite repetitive. So I think that's maybe where I was not as drawn to it.
Yeah.
But perhaps it's the essence of the song. Time will crawl.
I would also leave it off because I don't think it's enough of a hit to justify its thing here. And you know, it is. I do like this song quite a bit. But I think it can be a song that you discover when you pick up the album, you know. Next up is Never Let Me Down, the title track.
She never let me down. Never let me down.
This was a number 34 hit in the UK, number 27 in the US, number 37 in Canada, number 63 in Australia, and number 70 in the Netherlands. I'm interested to know what you say because it seems like you have maybe a soft spot for Bowie's more romantic 1980s ballads. So
Yeah.
does that fit the mold for you?
It does, yeah. I have my notes that the beginning is already more exciting than the other two songs from this album that we had listened or spoke about before. I love the funkiness of it. I know you don't like the harmonica as an instrument, but I do appreciate it in this song.
This is one of the songs where I grew to appreciate the harmonica.
Yeah. I thought kind of, again, had this like interesting, like, I'm not sure if it's like a psychedelic rock sound or just a rock sound at like the 2:30 mark. I thought that was cool. And I thought that this song had a lot happening throughout, which is refreshing for this album because some of the other songs were a little bit more like stagnant.
Yes.
But this one was just a little bit, you know, where you're like, okay, like I'm kind of into it. I can groove to this a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's worth keeping on the album. That's another nice little ballad, and I will definitely state that we need to keep the album version,
Yes.
not the single version, which has just this obnoxious saxophone. And obviously that's the song that did chart.
Wow. Oops.
But I don't know. Yeah, it's just too much saxophone. So keep the album version.
They say, hey, that's really something. They feel he should get some time. I say he should watch his ass, my friend. Don't listen to the crowd. Say,
Jump, they say. A number 9 hit single in the UK, so this marked a significant return for Bowie in the UK singles market. Did not chart in the US, unfortunately, but made it to number 26 in Canada, number 53 in Australia, and number 24 in the Netherlands.
Yeah, this song was fun. I liked the quick percussion. It kind of reminded me of We're Afraid of Americans. Like, I kind of got that same influence there. But it wouldn't be my pick for the Legacy album, only because I felt it was like his lyrics or his voice or something about the song was quite monotone. Even though like the sax is really fun, like the choir or like the background vocals like added quite a lot of density to the song, just something about it wasn't landing with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
To me, this is one of my personal favorite Bowie songs. So
okay.
I think it's got to stay. Next up is The Heart's Filthy Lesson. Now we're entering outside territory, so Kaitlan's getting excited here.
something in our blood, something in our sky. Patty? Who's been wearing Miranda's clothes?
Number 35 in the UK, which is I think is quite something. It made it to number 92 in the US, which again is significant. It made it to number 41 in Canada, and if you're looking at just the rock alternative chart, it made it to number 17, but did not do anything in Australia nor the Netherlands.
Such a weird song, such a weird music video, such a weird album. I know David Lynch took quite inspiration from this album for some of his films, which I feel like makes sense. Just so dark and grungy and just like somewhat irritating, but in a way that I'm like sucked in. I'm just like, what is happening? I remember I tried to convince my dance team to do a routine to this song, and they were just like, is this what you listen to in your spare time? I was like, yes, it is. Like, it's just so bizarre, but there's just such so much happening in this song, like so much layering, so many like sounds and like rhythms and just like the vocal range. Also, I'm shocked. Well, I'm not shocked, but I'm shocked that it was not on the Legacy album, because it deserves a place, I think.
I agree, and I think it's, especially if, you know, we're keeping the track listing running order as is, I think this is a great tonic to that 1980. Like, if you're not an 80s person, you know, like the sound of the 80s, this is a great tonic to that, right? You're like coming in, and now it's like, this is definitely not the 80s anymore.
Yeah.
There's no lush instrumentation. It's abrasive.
Yeah, very jarring.
Yeah. And the other thing too, I think a reason to keep it, and this again is quite surprising, it's like the same thing I talked about with Modern Love, where we finally got to some religious stuff. This is the first, if this was on Legacy, this would be the first appearance of Mike Garson as a piano player on a David Bowie song on Legacy. And like, you know, you think Garson, you think like, or you think Bowie and you think piano, you think Garson, right? You're talking about the Aladdin Sane solo. I'm talking about his work on Diamond Dogs. I mean, technically, I guess he is on Knock on Wood, but like he's playing a just pretty straightforward piano part. I feel like you need the Hearts of the Lesson just so you get a bit of Garson crazy piano.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that is such a fun part where all of a sudden it's like madness is entering your ears and you're like, oh my gosh.
Next up is Hello Space Boy.
So bye bye love, yeah bye bye love. Hello space boy.
This is, of course, the Pet Shop Boys remix of the song, not the album version, because this is the version that charted, and it was actually pretty successful in the UK, made it to number 12. Did not chart in North America, but it made it to number 36 in Australia and number 33 in the Netherlands.
And because Heart's Filthy Lesson and Hello Space Boy, they're the same album.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what the heck? Why is not the Heart Filthy Lessons the song that made it onto the Legacy album? It's a good song, but to me, nothing will ever compare to Heart's Filthy Lesson. Like it just, it's not weird enough. It doesn't have that like jarring quality that I'm like, that kind of shows the complexity of Bowie, you know? That's true, yeah.
I would keep it just because, you know, we're obviously in the 90s now, but there still is that gender play going on. So it's nice to see that's a theme that's continuing. It's not just something he kind of did for a bit and then tossed away. And like, you know, the remix is quite catchy, and, you know, obviously they add the Major Tom stuff in there. So yeah, why not? Why not keep it in there? Little Wonder is up next. It was a number 14 hit in the UK, did not chart in the US. In Canada, it made it to number 59, but on the rock alternative chart, it was number 7, so that's quite something. Number 94 in Australia and number 50 in the Netherlands.
Yeah, Little Wonder also kind of has that edgy, I don't even know what the instrument is. Is it the guitar? That's like makes that like weird kind of high pitch.
There's so many different samples going on this album. I would be taking a guess.
Right, but it reminds me so much of a Heart's Filthy Lesson that I just love the sound of it. Again, very abrasive, but then how like his voice is like very melodic. Is that even a word? Yeah. So like that contrast, that tension between the two, I think is just like that's Bowie, you know? That's exactly what I'm in for when I'm thinking I want to put on a Legacy album. So I'm glad at least we have some representation of the weirdness.
Yeah, and this is a song I would say keep the single version on the album. The actual full length of the Wonders is a little long and not necessary. So when you're just listening to the single version, it's a pretty tight little song. So it's kind of nice to have just a little compact weirdness, as you say.
Yeah, and I think it goes well with the song because it just ends. And you're like, whoa, you know.
That's true. Yeah, and especially if you're used to it going on for another 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Next up is I'm Afraid of Americans.
I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. I'm afraid of Americans.
This song was not released as a single in the UK, so there's no data available for that. It did make it to number 66 in the US, number 14 in Canada, unsurprisingly. And then did not chart in Australia nor the Netherlands, or it was not released as a single there as well. I think it should stay.
Yeah.
It was basically, once the song came out, it was in Bowie's live set for the rest of his live career, so it was obviously a pretty important song for him. It fits that kind of boys keep swinging kind of tongue-in-cheek lyrics kind of thing going on. And I mean, earlier when you're talking about loving the alien in Palestine, you're saying how relevant that is. I think
yeah.
it falls in the same boat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. It's a must keep. It isn't it still has like the funkiness in I almost find like the music isn't as jarring. It's the lyrics that are like, not that they're jarring, but you know what I mean, like they contrast Little Wonder in that like the music is more mellow, and it's the words that were like, oh my gosh, and then just like how he like builds his voice during the chorus. So I would agree, it's a must keep on the album.
Only for you I don't regret when I was first his child.
Next up is Thursday's Child, which was a number 16 hit single in the UK. Did not chart in the US, Canada, nor in Australia, but it did make it to number 81 in the Netherlands. I do like it actually, but I don't think it's that important for the Legacy album. I'm actually kind of surprised it did make it onto Legacy, so personally I think I would take it out.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of listening to this song. I thought it was interesting, but like something sounded off to me, like almost as if his like voice wasn't at the right register, or like something was weird. I preferred the background vocalists and music more than his actual voice, so it doesn't stick out to me as something that we need on the album.
But yeah, he was kind of trying to do on this album, he was trying to reflect what men of his generation and age were feeling at the time. So he wanted to do like more of a vocally. He wanted to approach it more like as just a regular person singing, as opposed to a professional.
Okay, that makes sense.
But I mean, like obviously, if you're just trying to be average, then the song is probably gonna end up being average.
Yeah, exactly.
That's special.
Turning us round and round, upside down. There's fear overhead. There's fear over ground.
Next up is Slow Burn, which was not released in the UK as a single. It was released in North America and other territories though. In the US it did not chart. In Canada it made it to number 33. In Australia it made it to number 69. And it also made it to number 69 in the Netherlands.
Yeah, so for this one, so when I was doing my listen through, I listened to the songs in chronological order, or I guess the album is also arranged chronologically. But in comparison to Thursday's Child, this song felt more like Bowie to me, but I guess if he was trying to be an average Joe in that last song, he really landed that one. So I appreciated the range, because that's what I'm listening to when I'm wanting to listen to Bowie. I also really appreciated the quick drums and the grungy guitar, and I felt like this was interesting because it came out in 2002. So I could hear, and this, I'm not a professional music person, but I could see like where Arcade Fire might have, or was drawing their inspiration from listening to this song on this album.
Yeah, I think if we're talking musically, I think it has like a really classic Bowie sound without sounding particularly like any other album he did.
Yes, agree.
So I think for that reason it's great. This is also one of the songs that got me into later period Bowie. I think it's also got really great lyrics, and yeah, it's one of my favorite Bowie songs, so I think it's staying.
It's great.
And I'm relieved to see that on Legacy they actually had 2 Heathen songs, not just one, which, again, for a later period album is not guaranteed. So the next song is Everyone Says Hi.
Everyone says don't stay in a sad place where they don't care how you are. Everyone says hi.
It was a number 20 UK hit. Did not chart in the US. Made it to number 39 in Canada. Did not chart in Australia. Did not chart in the Netherlands. But I think, even though it obviously missed a lot of charts at the time. I think this is such a great song, and this was the song that got me into later period Bowie. The first time I heard it on my iPod when I was just listening to all the songs alphabetically, I couldn't believe I'd never really thought about or like recognized this song or didn't know it, because I just thought this is so immediately catchy and just wonderful. So I'm keeping it. Hopefully you have something positive to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm still in that early stage prior to your iPod listen, where it's like a good song. It's great. It to me sounds like very Bowie-esque, but it wasn't something that like stayed with me. But maybe that's just, I need to spend a little bit more time with it, because I haven't, not until his like final album, I wasn't really listening to Heathen like 2013, even then like basically from like 97 to like after I'm Afraid of Americans, that album came out, that kind of period in the 2000s, I wasn't really listening to him as much. Have a bit of distance, but I think it's a good enough song to stay on the Legacy album.
Yeah, and I think another reason is that it's the first song on this album that really references the idea of mortality, which became a very big Bowie obsession after this, or even with the Heathen album. Like obviously he touched upon it before, but it didn't always make his singles as much. But this is a good representation of that lyrical subject.
I'm thinking now. I got a better way. I discovered the star. I got a better way. Ready, set, go. I got a better way. I'm Nuclear Star.
Next up is Nuclear Star, which was released as a DVD only single, which meant that it could not be counted on music charts at the time, because they were really only looking at CDs and vinyl, and I don't think cassettes were around anymore at this time, but DVDs did not count. So there's no justification for it being here, but I see you did a little heart emoji.
Yeah, such a great song. Again, I feel like it's very appropriate for the state of the world nowadays. I think it is just such an interesting song. I think it really kind of brings us back to those grungy periods, especially at the start. Again, the contrast of the music with like how he's performing the lyrics is just that tension, and then the trailing at the end. Like, how some songs you're just like, okay, you could have just ended the song. I do appreciate how it kind of trails off, like from start to finish. I think it's a great song. I recommend the song to a lot of folks who are wanting to listen to Bowie, because I think it's just it's great. Yeah.
See, I personally would have left. I like it.
Yeah.
I would have left it off the album.
Okay.
But the disadvantage with taking it off is that I feel like you lose out on a rocker, which I think the later part of the album needs, just because Bowie's big songs from this later period tend to be more ballady, slower. So I think it's nice to have that last boost of energy before we get to the end.
Right.
Then we have Where Are We Now?
As long as there's me, as long as there's you.
And this was Bowie's big comeback single after taking 10 years off of making music. It was a number 6 single in the UK, did not chart in the US surprisingly, but made it to number 59 in Canada, number 78 in Australia, and number 7 in the Netherlands.
Once again, I am drawing a blank. I know I've heard the song, but I think because I haven't spent much time with his later stuff, it's not something super memorable for me, so perhaps I will leave the commentary to you on this one.
Yeah, okay, so this is, I think, a really great song, but I think for it to be a great song, I think you have to know, and this really applies to me for a lot of both The Next Day and Black Star. If you don't know Bowie, I think you are missing out. So I don't think this is where you start, And obviously I think the reason why this song was so successful commercially is not because it's a great commercial song, but just because people were excited that Bowie was back. And it was kind of a big news story, right? So I wonder if you remove that context, like if he had released this song, like if he kept making music between 2003 and 2013 and then he just released it, this was just the next album single, I don't know if they would have that much of an impact.
Right.
So on a compilation album where you're obviously completely eliminating context, I don't know if it really belongs there, you know?
Right.
So I'm kind of torn about this one, because again, I do think it's really beautiful. I have a very emotional relationship with it, but I don't know if it's for a beginner fan or even just a casual fan.
Right. Not the right setting.
Yeah. The next song that we're going to discuss is the last song we're going to discuss that didn't make legacy, and that is the single and song Black Star.
I'm a black star, way off my money, I've got game. I see right so wide, so open heart, it's pain. I want equals in my daydreams, diamonds in my eyes. I'm a black star, I'm a black star.
It was number 61 in the UK charts, number 78 in the US charts, and you know, again, just I think it's mind-blowing that this song made it into the US charts, but Where Are We Now did not. You know, this is definitely a little more musically complex and challenging than Where Are We Now. Number 53 in Canada, did not chart in Australia, but made it to number 44 in the Netherlands. Should this song be on Legacy?
The song's 10 minutes, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I think so. I think this... Oh, gosh. For me, it's hard to even pick a song from this album, because like they just tell such a story together. I really love the sax in this song. It really demonstrates like kind of all that, not all that Bowie can do, but a lot that Bowie can do in like this one song, which I really appreciate. And so when I was initially scrolling through the Legacy album, I was like, Black Star's not on there. And then I was like, oh wait, there are still songs from the album. But to me, I was like, wow, like you would think, you know, but maybe because of the length of it, it was a little bit of a deterrent. But like I think because you got the slow build, you've got the like kind of haunting saxophone and other instruments throughout, like the guitar riffs. But then you have it like picks up a little bit and then it kind of slows down again. And
I agree with you. I think the length is what keeps it from being on the album, but it really deserves a place on that. I think this is a later Bowie song that doesn't need the context to just recognize how important of a song it is. So I would put it on if there was space.
Yeah.
So
same.
Lazarus did make it on to Legacy.
Look up here, I'm in heaven. I've got scars that can't be seen. I've got drama, can't be stolen.
This was a number 45 hit in the UK, number 40 in the US, number 14 in Canada, number 72 in Australia, and number 32 in the Netherlands. Obviously this song, it was the last single released during Bowie's lifetime, so I'm sure this charting data comes from the news of his passing, and then just people gravitating towards the last release that he had. I would definitely keep it on Legacy. I think it is a great final single. It's a great way to end on. So
yeah, because this is the song where he tells fans that he's dying, right?
Well, I don't know if he's necessarily telling his fans that he's dying, but you could definitely interpret it that way. Like,
oh,
I
okay.
don't know, that's what, because technically the song was written for the musical Lazarus and not for.
Oh,
There's
interesting.
a lot of crossover between that album and the musical. So.
Okay, but because of the music video, isn't he like that's where he's on the bed with the little because to me that when I hear the song, that's where I'm just like it's such a beautiful way to say goodbye to his fans, because he also didn't announce that he was battling cancer until he passed. So when I first heard the song, I was like, man, like what would it have been like if this was like the first song that I ever listened to from Bowie and it's him saying goodbye? Like that would have been like what is happening, like such a whirlwind of emotions, especially if you like really like, you know, enjoyed the song for what it is and how it sounds and all that stuff. But yeah, I agree that it has its place on Legacy, and I'm glad that it's there.
Then the final song on Legacy is I Can't Give Everything Away, which is also the final song on Black Star.
I can't give everything away.
This song was never actually released as a single, so there's no chart information, obviously. Now, do you think this song should be on Legacy or not?
I really like this song.
I do. I think I also agree. I think it's a 5-star song, but does it belong on a compilation album?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess in that context, maybe not. Like I reference this song in my dissertation. Like I really love this song. Again, it's just, good question. Because I'm thinking about it like what I think I might have preferred Black Star over this song, maybe over the last two songs. But if like for space, otherwise Black Star and Lazarus for sure. Because yeah, this one kind of, it has like that, again, that kind of twanginess to it, which is a bit of a different sound for Bowie, if I can say. But it, unless it's listened to in the album or unless you have a connection to the song, I'm not sure if it would be captivating enough to get people to listen to Black Star.
Yeah, and like it is a great, to me this feels more like a saying goodbye to his fans.
Yeah.
And I think for that reason, like that, it would be a really beautiful way to close out a compilation album.
For sure.
Close out for his career. But I feel like there's something so beautiful about this being the final song on Black Star that I don't know if I want to take that away from it by being here as well.
Right.
I feel like it should only be on Black Star.
Right. That makes sense.
Because then it just has more of that emotional resonance.
Yeah. Yeah, because the song is very emotional, and I never thought about that like that, so I agree.
Okay, so now we're going to do a segment where we look at album artwork, and we're just going to give some quick reactions to what we think.
Your record sleeves are better than your songs.
So obviously, I ran through some Bowie compilation albums earlier in the show. We're going to see what myself and Kaitlan think about how the albums look. The first one is Changes One Bowie.
Okay, and this is what is one of his first compilation albums?
Yeah, this is his first kind of greatest hits package.
Okay.
Came out in 76.
Wow. That's like not the Bowie that I would picture in the 70s. You know? Like it's like almost like a professional photo shoot or something.
I think I really should have the information on the credits here, but I think this was taken by like an old Hollywood photographer. Like,
okay. 40s, yeah, because that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting from it. Very simple, very like...
elegant?
Yeah, it's very elegant. You get what you get. It's not like, maybe some people would be a little bit or more opposed to some of the like very like costumey, like androgynous artwork on other albums. So maybe this is just like a raw, like, this is me, I'm David Bowie, and these are some of my greatest songs.
Yeah.
But... yeah, I think it's cool. Even like as simple as it is, it's still very like alluring. Like I want to look at the, I want to spend some time with it. Also a very good looking man. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think the simplicity of this cover is its biggest selling point. And yeah, just the whole simplicity of the whole package too. And obviously it's taking the station to station topography, using that again. I think it's very visually pleasing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Compilation album, which, as we'll see in some later ones, maybe that was missed out.
Uh-oh.
Okay, the next one is The Best of Bowie from 1980.
Oof, I don't like his haircut.
I feel that's the best thing about this package, really. I feel like there's too much going on the sides there.
Yes, well, because these are all the, like, his characters or whatever you want to that he plays. He just looks so sad in this picture to me. Like he doesn't look like he's happy to be there. I do like the backside though.
You
and
think
how
that's a little too cheesy?
What's the 80s? This is screaming 80s to me. Especially all the like.
Yeah, those colors there.
Yeah, but like how they're all like kind of askewed, like they're not in a straight line.
Oh yeah.
I prefer the other one better. This one is, I don't know. He looks like, please buy my album. Like it's like
it's a little too desperate.
Yeah, it's giving desperation. And then it's like, if you don't enjoy this picture, maybe you'll enjoy some of these other pictures. Like.
Okay, so this one here is the sequel to Changes 1, Changes 2 Bowie.
Great, simple, refined. Actually, like I thought there would be more cigarettes throughout. So this is the first album cover that I've seen.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
he's not holding.
He's not holding a cigarette. I can't believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, no cigarettes. So this is very simple. Kind of looks a little bit more like folky almost, like a little bit more disheveled with like the hair. Like it's not as poised, but I think it's cool.
Yeah, and here you really get to see the contrast between the two eyes.
Right, because it's in color.
Yeah. The next one is Fame and Fashion.
It's okay.
I would say if you're talking 80s, that font there is very 80s.
Yo, I prefer this haircut over the other one, but I kind of I like the font choice. This one is kind of like the David Bowie. The Fame and Fashion is a little bit difficult to read, but it's kind of fun. I kind of wish he likes close-ups of his face, eh? I think I would prefer the front versus the side profile, like this close. Like for those who aren't looking at this album, like it cuts his chin and like half of his hair. Like he's like really zoomed in.
And then we just have this, kind of random black and white space on the side.
Yeah. It's like you could have been something is, not the centering is weird.
Yeah, and it almost kind of looks like he's like mid talking.
Yeah.
It's not like it doesn't look like he's posed for this photo. It looks like he was talking to someone. It's like he's a press conference. Someone's on like, the side. They couldn't get a good seat. They took the picture, and then that's the album cover.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very paparazzi, candid-esque. Like, does he even know this picture was taken? Like, but yeah, still the first one, preference. Yeah. The simplicity, I think, as you were saying, or prefaced, selling point.
Okay, so now we're looking at the Sound and Vision box set from 1989.
Yeah, this one is weirdly giving like Western country album, like with the guitar.
Yeah,
so
it's kind of holding it like a banjo. A little bit.
Yeah. I think this one's also very classy, very simple. Of the 80s ones that we've seen, I like this one. Because he kind of looks mysterious in the picture, Yeah. It's just like, who is this artist? What kind of music does he play? Because he's wearing also like a suit. So there's a lot of mystery to what's happening here, which I appreciate.
Yeah, and this actually won a Grammy Award for design.
Wow.
Package here.
I think it's well deserved.
Yeah. Okay, the next one. Definitely, well, so here we have kind of a combination. We have Changes One Bowie in the background, and then we're kind of taking some of the ideas from the best of Bowie with like the different persona being included. I think it looks like a hot mess.
It looks like somebody... so this might be, depending on who our listeners are, back in the day when you could copy and paste images onto Paint, like Microsoft Paint. It looks like someone was trying their first go-around with using Microsoft Paint. Yeah, what is happening?
I know, to me, what it looks especially bad is the rectangle of Ziggy Stardust. Like, why is it a rectangle? It looks so horrible.
Oh my gosh. Like, it's all just, like, random shapes. There's, like, no traced outlines. And, yeah, like, there's no, like... symmetry. It doesn't make sense. Like, some of them are tilted, some of them are straight up, some of them are angled cuts. Like, there's just one of his eyeball. I don't understand why. Like, this is that is a hot mess. That's a great definition for that.
And it's a bad
one. That's horrid.
Okay, now we're gonna look at Bowie the singles from 1969 to 1993.
Yeah, the front is like cool. Got
very
some
90s colors.
Yep, very 90s colors. Got some pinks and yellows and light blues. Again, it's so interesting because like I feel like this guy's so mysterious because now he has like an old school microphone that he's like singing into, which is cool.
That one works for you?
Yeah, I have no hesitation. It's
Yeah, it kind of has that classic Bowie compilation. He seems to like kind of anguish when he's doing a compilation album cover, like on the best of Bowie again.
This little sad boy.
Yeah. Next up is the best of David Bowie from 1969 to 1974.
Ooh, that's funky.
Now you're talking about Paint. This here reminds me of whatever the default Windows photo app. This is what I used to do. I can't remember what that effect was called, but like whenever you bring the negative.
Oh, inverse or something.
Yeah, inverse. Yeah.
Yeah, that's someone got a little creative. Okay, that I'm not as inclined for that one.
Okay. Skip ahead to the best of 1974 to 1979.
Oof. That looks like a mugshot. That looks like, because he's like kind of angled up a bit. That's like a cry for help.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I like that one.
Are you a fan of the blue hair and the blue eyes? He's got kind of a Superman thing going on there.
No, he like doesn't even like that. I wouldn't, if you put this picture in front of me without any context, like if it didn't say David Bowie, I would be like, who is that? Like it does not.
Yeah. Okay. Then finally in this trilogy we have the best of 1980, 1987, and here we like the last two pictures were like playing with that inverse effect, and this one is just like a straightforward hand drawn
something. He looks terrifying in this picture.
Yeah, he's got some kind of redness under the eyes there.
But like also it's okay if this is hand drawn, they're like missing some of his hair, so it kind of looks like like if you burnt a picture and some of the edges burnt, then like they're just like distorted. Also his hand Like he has no neck, so his chin is resting on his hand, but there's like no neck in the back, so it's just like some random hand like photoshopped onto his neck, his head.
Yeah, not for you.
No.
Not for you, that one.
No, I think I like the refined, mysterious Bowie.
Yeah. Okay. Now, here's where it all started for me, of course, with Best of Bowie. Here again, we're going for that kind of the Best of Bowie thing. Changes Bowie, where we got the kind of collage aesthetic going on. I think this one is the most tastefully done.
Yes, this one's working because it makes sense. It's just different moments from Bowie's personas that are like mashed together, but it just makes one face. It's not just like random shapes of different versions of Bowie, but like they're all his face. You need to go look at that album. But this one, classic. Whenever I think of the song Heroes, I think of this album cover.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't think of the actual Heroes album cover?
No, I think of this one.
What a disservice.
I know. I know.
As much as I think this compilation album works, it's definitely not.
Yeah, it's not the
Yeah.
praising up or whatever he's doing.
Then we have Nothing Has Changed.
That's nice. I like that. This brings more of the mystery back.
Yeah, it definitely it has
Wow.
that mystery thing going on. And I think the different versions of the album, I think this was the 2 CD edition cover, and then this was the 1 CD or 1 LP edition.
Cool. That's this is really cool. This is giving me like Uncanny vibes when like Freud is at the end of the Uncanny. It's like a little excerpt. He talks about how he was sitting on the train and he goes to get up and the door comes closing and he sees this like old man in the window and he's like, get out of my train car, like who are you, not realizing that it's himself, but he's just aged and he hasn't like that like uncanny experience. So just like seeing Bowie in like all of these mirrors looking at himself, but like we don't see him, like it's not a picture of straight up of him, we're seeing the reflection of him in the mirror. I think that's kind of cool. So I like this. This is very chic.
And then, and also, I guess, since we're looking at all these in order, it kind of has that nice coherency where, sometimes we've seen him in, like, a profile.
Yeah.
Or now we're getting to see the profile, and we're also getting to see him looking straight on because of the mirror effect.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think that's really cool. Awesome.
The final one we're going to look at is, of course, the Legacy album cover.
It's kind of boring.
Yeah, I agree. And it's too simple.
It is. But it's not simple in the way that it's mysterious.
Yeah.
It's just like, because then it's like, oh, is Bowie this like only Ziggy Stardust? Is that like only him and now that he's old? Like, it's not, it's giving us 2 distinct versions of Bowie, but we're missing so much of the middle.
Yeah, that's so true. That's a very good point, actually.
So I don't like that.
Yeah. Actually, I think this image in the booklet here is even a little more interesting, where they're combining the artwork for David Bowie 1969 or Space Oddity with Aladdin Sane.
And then Black Star in the background.
Yeah, Black Star in the background there, yeah. To me, that's even a little more interesting than the actual album cover.
Absolutely. Because again, it's that collage, like almost like a mutant form, that we're building throughout this. Because I think what's so jarring of like the Ziggy Stardust to the older version of Bowie is like, it just looks like it's like, when you're like a kid and you're like had so much personality and like you were so like trying on your parents' clothes or whatever, and then you got older and you're just like this boring businessman. Like that's the kind of vibe I get from the actual cover of the album, where it's just like, look at this like cool person I was back then. Now I'm just this like serious guy who makes music.
Yeah, I guess and that's not really the legacy you want to leave behind.
No.
So we've run through the whole album now. If you were introducing someone to Bowie or you knew someone who was trying to get into Bowie, would this be a collection you would recommend them consulting?
I would say yes and no. Yeah, I guess it's a good introduction, but I'm not sure if... I guess I'm still kind of caught on like what's the difference between a Best of Bowie album versus the Legacy album. Like I don't know if there's much of a difference other than it's longer. It has more of a selection, I guess, but...
Yeah, I think that its biggest problem is that it is rather long. I feel like if I was going to recommend this to someone, I would for sure, if they aren't, if they're streaming it, I would say shuffle the album, because I think my fear was that you would run out of steam before you get to the more recent stuff. And I think that is kind of a shame because Bowie's later work is still really great. So I wouldn't want to see you, by the time you get through the 70s and 80s, you're just like, okay, I can't do this anymore, you know?
Right. And I feel for someone who might have like a bit of an introduction already to Bowie, they might be so familiar with the earlier tracks that it's like, oh yeah, this sounds great. And then almost like putting it into comparison with the later tracks that have more of a different sound, that they might also fall off the bandwagon there as well.
Yeah, right. So just kind of mix it all in, see what happens.
Yeah.
Earlier you talked about the Spotify sample playlist. So let's just have a quick look at what is offered there.
Yeah.
And just kind of compare it to Legacy.
Yeah, so in looking, I would say it has... Okay, interesting.
First of all, how long is it compared to Legacy?
It's 5 hours and 34 minutes.
Woo, okay, so we thought Legacy was long.
Yeah. But I would say, like, at first I'm looking and I'm like, okay, the big songs. We got Changes as the first song, Heroes number 2, Under Pressure number 3, Let's Dance number 4. So it kind of starts off that way. But then also we have the songs that I wish were on the Legacy album. So we got Suffragette City on there. We got Queen Bitch, Rock and Roll Suicide, Black Star even makes an appearance. Magic Dance is on this playlist. So take that. And yeah, Andy Warhol.
I'm looking at the Apple Essentials playlist. Also pretty similar. Suffragette City is on here. Rock and Roll Suicide is on here. Queen Bitch is on here. Cat People Putting Out Fire, which makes me happy, although it is the Let's Dance version, the one you prefer, not the actual Cat People soundtrack version. Magic Dance is on here. And actually, Apple's going to one-up you here because they have Black Star twice on this place. So we were thinking,
wow,
maybe Black Star's a little too long for a compilation album, but you can put it on twice, and apparently that's just fine.
So how long is this album then?
This playlist here is 4 hours and 20 minutes, which I think is definitely more reasonable than 5 hours.
Yeah.
So 5 hour playlist is getting pretty lengthy.
Yeah.
Does yours... Mine has one Tin Machine track. Does yours have any Tin Machine?
No. It's all David Bowie, unless it's like a feature like Queen or Mick Jagger, but no, there's no Tin Machine on here.
Okay. Interesting. So, that's settled. Thank you so much for doing this first show with me. I really appreciate that.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Okay, so that finishes up our first episode of this podcast. In the next episode, we're going to be looking at the rise and fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, which is when, of course, the first generation of Bowie fans really met David Bowie. So that's why we're going to be looking at that one next. Until then, don't forget to keep your hat warm.